Hey everyone. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. Thank you for being here, by the way. I really appreciate it. So I'm just going to jump right in and say hi to Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann says, so looking forward to this tonight. I'm so glad you could make it here tonight, Carrie Ann. Hopefully you are at home and not having to work tonight. That would be awesome for you. And hello, Clint. How are you doing tonight? I know you're coming to us from East Texas. Appreciate you being here. And same to you, Ashley. Hello, hello, Ashley says. And of course, we have Rob, one of my moderators from the Curmudgeon Inn in Alaska. Rob also has a channel, so be sure to check his channel out if you get a chance. And we got just some greetings going back and forth here. And we have Donna Hedon, and Donna says, howdy everyone from the Pacific Northwest coast area of Washington State. Hope Alone, Kenai, and all are having a great day. Well, we hope you are too, Donna, and I appreciate you joining us tonight in the chat. And I do have a fan on this evening because it is rather hot here today with a high of 72 degrees. And so hopefully the fan is not causing too much interference on the microphone. If it is, just let me know and I can redirect it a little bit so it's not blowing across the mic. Let's see here, just going down the list of everyone talking. And Ashley says, trying to get the garden watered before the start. Yes, I had to do the same thing, but mine was early this morning because I went out and some of the plants that I planted in front of the dog run were actually starting to wilt because that bed had dried out. It is really warm and there's still a breeze going on outside, so it's drying things out kind of quickly. And Ira says, hello, Alone, and all our friends. My mom and I hope everyone is doing well. Well, thank you, Ira. So glad you could join us again tonight. And same to you, Joni Wasson. How are you doing? Glad you could be here. And Linda Morris, who says that she'll be right back. She just has to finish dinner. I think that's awesome that you're going to eat before listening because you got to have a full stomach, I think. Otherwise, if you're like me, you get easily distracted. And Joni says, how is the garden coming along since the raised beds? The garden seems to be doing really well. The potatoes have started to push up through the soil, as well as the daikon and the normal radishes are all coming up nicely. Ground cherries are starting to sprout, and nothing else has gotten to the cabbages. So whatever it was, it seems to have left them alone for now, which is really, really nice because I really want those cabbages to be successful. Let's see here. Still going through some greetings here. And Shirley Williams says hello from Franklin, Ohio. Well, hello to you, Shirley, and thank you again for being here. And we have Poor Man's Homestead in Canada, who also has a channel, so be sure to check him out. And Poor Man, of course, is giving everybody a nice waving hand here. Well, hello, hello, Poor Man. Carrie Ann says, so great to see you alone. I'm off work tonight. That is awesome for you. I know you work a lot of nights, and I know that you put in long hours, so I'm very happy for you that you get to be home tonight. And Danny says, hi there from rainy Central Florida. Hello, Danny. So glad you could join us. And hopefully that rain is a nice, cool, and comfortable rain for you this evening. And we have, again, Rob saying hello to everybody. And then we have Spencer Moore, who says hello, everyone. Hello, Spencer. Thank you for joining us. And Sandra Soto Rivera says hello, everybody from Costa Rica. Hope you are all doing well. Well, thank you. Sandra, we hope the same for you. And my bet from Florida, hello to you as well. And thank you for joining us in the chat tonight. Rob says that it was 73 today at his place and 79 yesterday. Yikes, that's hot. And let's see here. We still got more greetings going on. And Rob says, come on, folks, get those thumbs up smashed. Thank you very much for that, Rob. I greatly appreciate it. And Poor Man says, I put up curtain shears in my gardens. Oh, that's a good idea. That will help to provide some shade for sure. If nothing else, I think that's a fantastic idea. And Wayne Sperlin, thank you for being here tonight. Hope you're feeling better tonight. And Wayne says, hello from Denver, North Carolina. How bad are the mosquitoes there? Oh my goodness, the mosquitoes are fierce right now. They are out in force. You cannot go outside for even a split second without being swarmed by them. And they're still the rather large mosquitoes. And I had taken a nap earlier and I had a dream that I was picking up razor blades, and I think that it was actually I had a mosquito in the house that was biting my hands because I have itches all over my hands now. So they're really fierce and their bites hurt worse than I've ever experienced with a mosquito bite. Like you can feel them the minute they tap in. And Ira says, loved your garden video, was so impressed with your perseverance and work ethics. I love ground cherries. I have never had ground cherries, but I thought I would give them a try and see how they are. I understand they're quite tasty. And so for anybody who doesn't know what a ground cherry is, it is a little cherry-like fruit, but it produces in a skin like a tomatillo would. And it kind of creates a low shrubbery type ground cover, and it doesn't have a stone in it or a pit like a traditional cherry does. And they are the color of gooseberries. So I'm hoping that they're really sweet and tasty because I think that would be awesome to have some. And Clint says, had a bad storm come through and knocked out power for 3 days. 107 heat index and high humidity was brutal. I would think so. Here it is, like I said, just 72 degrees in this area of Alaska today. I have no air conditioning in the cabin other than this little fan that I have sitting beside me and one ceiling fan. But I can't imagine having it over 100 degrees with high humidity and no power to turn on a fan or, an AC or anything like that. That would be suffocating, I think. I hope you made it through it without incident, though. And I'm glad you have your power back too, Clint. Carrie Ann says, is Kenai still laying in his new dirt bed, aka your garden? He got in there a couple more times, despite the fact that I had strung up some cording around. He found a little gap where I hadn't put any cording, and he squeezed right in there. But since then, I had found some racks that were being thrown out, and I picked them up and brought them home, and I tacked them up in front of the beds on top of the timbers. So the timbers are here and then the racks are running like this. And he took one look at them and realized, okay, I'm not going to try to jump over that, even though he easily could. If he really wanted, he could jump over that 6-foot fence. I've seen him, I think I've said this before, jump when I lived in Colorado and I had a 2-story home, and there were 13 or 14 steps going from the main level up to the top level. And he would go down about 3 or 4 steps and then launch off of that last step and land in the middle of the next room. So he had to go over the last, 10, 12 steps, whatever it was, over the landing where the steps land or ended, and then into the next room, and he would land in the middle of it. So if he wanted to, he could probably jump that fence, but luckily he doesn't really do it. But right now he's sitting behind me, also trying to stay cool in the fan. And we have Ed from Mountain Mariner Off Grid, Alaska. Thank you for being here, Ed. I hope that you are doing well. And Ed also has a channel, as you guys all know. You guys are all familiar with these channels, but do be sure to pay Ed a visit when you get a chance. And Ed says that it's 60 degrees Fahrenheit here in Valdez. Lots of rain in the forecast for the next week. Rain would be nice. I could definitely use the rain. It is so dry here right now. So hopefully some of that rain pushes north and cools things off. And hopefully you stay nice and comfortable there in Valdez while you're working. And Joni says, that is really great news. Well, thank you, Joni. I appreciate that too, hearing that you like the news that I have for everybody. And Ed also says hello to everybody. And let's see here. There is Poor Man's channel link, so be sure to pay him a visit. Appreciate that, Rob. And Pat A, who says, hello, lady. Watched your video of the garden demolition and creation. Bet you were sore. Be careful. Actually, I really wasn't too sore after that. Excuse me, I have a little tickle in my nose. I was sore mentally that first day that I tried to rip it apart because I had my heart set on getting it torn out of there. But I just really wasn't using the right sledgehammer. The sledgehammer that I was using, the head on the handle was kind of loose. That's why you saw me tap it down on the timber underneath at one point, because I was trying to pound it back on. And it was, I think, only like a 5-pound sledge. So then I got out an 8-pound sledge and a pry bar and some other tools, and I was able to get that ripped apart a lot easier when I took a day's break and came back to it, it was a lot easier. But honestly, hauling all that stuff over, I was tired, but I didn't wake up too sore the next day, which was really, really good. But thank you for asking. And let's see here. Ira says, my mom and I enjoyed a great garden dinner, eggplant, tomato, and pepper casserole. We are proud. I bet so. I would be too. I will be if my vegetables continue to grow the way they appear to be. So I'm kind of envious of all of those that are living in warmer climates and have a longer growing season and already pulling a harvest in. I keep thinking, man, I should have gotten things started sooner. But at least I got the beds built. And so next year, hopefully I'll get a garden in sooner and get a good harvest out of it. But either way, I'm sure I'll get plenty of things to eat. And we have James T. Bowen in the house tonight. Thank you, James, for being here. James says, give your cabbage a good balanced fertilizer and plenty of water, and you'll be glad you did. Yes, in Colorado, I grew lots of cabbages, and I had quite the harvest. Absolutely loved the cabbages, but I did treat them really, really well. One of the things that I wound up doing in Colorado, which I'll probably have to do here, I'm just curious if it's going to be an issue or not, is that I had cabbage aphids, and they literally look like concrete on the underside and in between the leaves of the cabbages. And the only way you can really get rid of them is to just hose them off. You can try spraying them with some soapy insecticidal mixture, that has cayenne and dish soap and water, a little bit of oil, like olive oil or canola in it. But they were the worst. So one of the things that I did there was that I did put a net over them. I made sure that I fed them well. Once I started really fertilizing them, then the aphids kind of went away on their own. But one other thing that I did early on was that I took mothballs and I put them in some mesh netting and tacked them up inside of a Dixie cup, those plastic solo cups, I think they're called. And then I turned that upside down with the stake going up into the cup. The mothballs were up in here, and that scent drove the cabbage moths away. They never attacked my cabbages and never had any insect issues other than the aphids. And I honestly think that if I kept the netting over it or put the netting over it sooner, I may not have even had the aphids on there. So thank you for that, though, James. I really appreciate it. And there is Ed's channel link for everybody over at Mountain Mariner Off Grid Alaska. Thank you for putting that up, Rob. And Pat says 79 hot, huh? 90 humid as hell in North Florida. Yeah, I couldn't handle it there. That's for sure. There's a very specific reason why I live where I do, and it is because I couldn't take the heat that you in the South are facing every year, every summer. I would be miserable. I have to hand it to you guys. You guys are stronger than I am to endure those temperatures. And my bet says I'm in Central Florida, sorry, west of all the rain, lol. Well, hopefully it's not too miserable where you're at since you don't have any rain to help cool you off. But of course, then maybe the humidity isn't as high either. But then again, it is Florida, so maybe it still is. And howdy, Matt. Matt AK's here, and he says, howdy, fam, back in Utah. Oh, well, I hope you get the opportunity to get back up here to your new place very, very quickly. I was so happy to hear you were in Alaska, and I'm sure you had a wonderful time while you were here. So hopefully your stay in Utah isn't too much longer before you get to make the move for good. And Delia's here. Hello, Delia Garcia. And she says, hello. Wow, I'm on time, lol. Well, I appreciate you being here. Even if you show up late, I still appreciate it. And Antoine Aussie is here. And Antoine Aussie says, good morning, Alone, and everybody. Good day from the frozen north, Victoria, Australia. Well, I'm kind of envious of you as well, since you're having winter months right now. I hope that the winter is treating you well there. And Mrs. Smith says, hi, Alone. Good to see you back. Same to you, Mrs. Smith. So glad to see you in the chat here tonight. And Mrs. Smith, for everybody who doesn't know, it has, let me turn this light off. That's causing a little disruption there in the coloring. And hopefully it's not too dark now. Give me one moment. Let me see if I can fix this a little bit here. There we go. That should be a little bit better. But Mrs. Smith has a blog, a written blog that I promote at the end of each one of my videos. So you can find the link to her blog in the description of my videos. And give me 1 second, folks. change the screen here for just one moment. I need to plug in the hard line to my computer because I still haven't run the other one up. So give me just one moment. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, folks. I appreciate you holding tight for me while I did that. And hopefully that'll prevent any glitching or interruptions. I just saw the screen glitch. And so that's why I thought, I better plug that back in. And there is Onto It Aussie's channel link as well. Thank you, Rob, again, for posting all of these. It's very much appreciated. So be sure to pay Onto It Aussie a visit, if you will. And Matt says to Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn, hey, you Rob, yeah, crossing all the fingers. New date for signing the deed is the 28th, hoping it doesn't get pushed back again. Yes, I understand that for sure. There is nothing like being on pins and needles and waiting to get up here and then having to wait even longer. And Daisy and Ed's Alaskan Adventures, how are you doing tonight? So glad to see you in the chat here. And she says, you kill a mosquito, all of its relatives come to the funeral. That's probably true. That's definitely probably true. I was thinking about that the other day because I, at one point, was working in a warehouse setting, and I had the door open in the evening and flies were coming in, and there were so many flies, I just started killing them. And then before I knew it, I was actually being pinged by the flies. And I was like, oh my goodness, they realized that I've killed their relatives and they're coming for revenge. Hello, Dustin Law. How you doing tonight? Dustin says, hi, all. So glad to see you in the chat again. And Shirley Williams says, are you going to build a hothouse next year, or is this for future gardens? I would hope to get it in next year for sure. But I'm still debating on where the hothouse is going to be. Originally, I had thought about actually attaching it to the side of the cabin, but I started thinking about it a little bit more. And because of how low the eaves of the cabin actually are, it would mean that in order to put a significant pitch on it, it would be a very shallow greenhouse on the side, lean-to on the side of the cabin. And so now I'm thinking that I'm going to build a standalone that just sits catty corner off the back of the cabin. And if I can, I'll be putting that in next year. But I still need to figure out exactly what I'm going to do. The other thing that I might do is just do a high tunnel that I can take the cover off of every winter so that I don't have collapsing high tunnels. But we'll see. Something needs to be done for sure, because I would like a place to start my seedlings earlier and also have an extended growing season if possible. And hello, we have Big T in the house tonight. Big T over at Rustic Log Cabin Life. And Big T says, hi, hey, y'all, 80 degrees today. It's hot where you're at too, Big T. Oh my goodness. It's so hot everywhere in Alaska this week, I think, actually. I'm so glad to see you here tonight, though, Big T. And Delia says, hello, everyone. Let's like alone. Well, thank you for that, Delia. Greatly appreciated. And Mrs. Smith says, I beat you to it, Rob. And Debbie is here from our bucket list has holes. Hello, Debbie. How are you doing tonight? And she says, hello, alone. Mods in the chat. I'm in the garden, but listening. Much love to you all. Well, thank you, Debbie. Greatly appreciate it. And I'm glad that you're able to work in your garden and keep an ear out for everything going on in the chat tonight. And Joni says, if you have any meat tenderizer on hand, put a little bit on your mosquito bites. I know it sounds really bizarre, but it works. My aunt taught me that years ago. Whatever it is in the blend works. Well, that is a good trick to know. I don't have any, but next time I'm in town, I might just pick some up and see if it works for sure. And Rob, I do know too, this is something else that's kind of disgusting, but about meat tenderizer. If you have a dog that eats feces, because there are a lot of dogs out there that do that, or you just don't have the availability to go out and clean up after your dog all the time, and you know that there's a chance that they're going to do that. If you don't have the chance to pick up after them, at least follow after them and sprinkle meat tenderizer on top of their feces, and it'll prevent them from getting worms. I know that because I used to work for an animal hospital when I was a teenager, and that was one of the things that they suggested to a gentleman who lived on the side of a mountain, and his dog was constantly having worms, and they told him to do that. And then we never saw the dog again for worms. We saw the dog for other things, so I know it didn't hurt the dog, but I thought that was odd. I thought, well, why not just tell him to clean up after the dog? Wouldn't that be easier? But there's an old trick anyhow for beating worms in the dog feces, as gross as that is. And Rob is asking Mrs. Smith, beat him to what? And let's see here. Saying hello, she says. And Matt says, I didn't think I got a single skeeter bite all last week in Alaska, but I got one today in Utah. They probably realized that you came home bite free, and they're like, oh, let's remind you what you're about ready to experience when you get back up here. And Shane Liddell, how are you doing tonight? So glad to see you in the chat again. And Shane is coming to us tonight from Northern California. Awesome, awesome. And there is Rustic Log Cabin Life's channel link for everybody. So be sure to pay Big T a visit if you would. And my bet says, well, never mind. It's raining here too now. You spoke a little too soon. Hello, Sarah. Sarah Corey's in the house. And Sarah is the other wonderful half of Rob up there at the Curmudgeon Inn. And Sarah says, hi, alone and all. Sorry, I'm late. I'm the official drinks maker. Lol. Well, enjoy. I'm sure on a nice hot evening like this, those drinks are coming in really handy. And Chris Lowe, how are you doing tonight? So glad to see you in the chat. Chris says, good evening. Love watching. Well, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that. Clint is saying to Joni, I've used meat tenderizer to remove bee stings. I'm not sure how it works, but it did. Well, that is good to know too. So it seems like maybe on a multitude of animal bites, insect bites. Oh my goodness. I wonder if it would work on animal bites. Just kidding. And Copper Penny, how are you doing tonight? So glad to see you here. Copper Penny says, hello, everyone from Northwoods, Wisconsin. Nice. So glad to see you. And Two Bears, we can't forget you, my friend. Two Bears says, good evening, Miss Alone, and everybody else. Hope you're doing well tonight, Two Bears. I'm so glad that you made it tonight. And let's see here. Ira says, feel lucky that I brought my, I'm thinking that says mom, to live in a rural area with a lot of nature. I have always lived in the country. My siblings are angry as they do not understand living with no crowds. Well, it definitely takes a certain mindset to live this way, but I am so happy that you're able to do it. And I am happy that I'm here too. The few times that I have to run into Anchorage, I'm always like, can I just get out of the city? There's just too many people, too many crowds for sure. And hi, Carmen. How are you doing tonight? Carmen is a viewer who has been with my channel from the very start of the channel, and I really appreciate you being here in the chat tonight, Carmen. Carmen says, hello from Amelia, Ohio, near Cincinnati, relaxing all weekend. Lazy me. You're lucky, you is what you are. That's awesome. And Ashley says, Sarah says, hi to Ashley. Nice to know you are here. And same to Onto It Aussie is saying hi to Ashley, who is saying hi. Ashley is saying hi back. Two Bears says, Two Bears scolds Miss Alone for not wearing safety glasses. Shame on you. Yeah, you saw I put them on real quick after that because I was like, what in the world? I made sure I had them on the whole time. But I also noticed that when I was using the chainsaw, see, you can scold me again, Two Bears, because you know this from experience, is when I was using the chainsaw, I didn't have the mesh screen down. I did have my safety glasses on, but I did not have the screen down. I was watching the video back and I was like, what was I thinking? Safety first, for sure. And Tammy Kaiser, how are you doing tonight? Tammy says, hi from Montana. Love watching your videos. Love your sense of humor. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you being here tonight. I do think that life is too short not to make the best of every situation, not to find a little humor in everything that you do. In fact, when my kids were growing up and I would have to lecture them because they were being scolded for one thing or another, I always made sure to throw a joke in the middle of the scolding. At first I did it just to see if they were paying attention. If they cracked a smile or, started giggling, then I knew they were hearing what I was saying. But then it became where I think they were only listening for the joke and everything else went right off into the distance. And hi, Danny, how are you doing tonight? Danny says, not sure the use of different tools in the garden, but your tenacity, which I admire most about you. You go, girl. Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And Chris says, cabbage is a plus here in Louisiana. We smother it with smoked meats. Yes, 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 yes. That sounds delicious. I like to fry up bacon and cabbage, put in a little bit of mustard seed and caraway seed. One of my favorite things to do. And Ira says, I'm originally from upstate New York in high elevation with very short season, beautiful hills, and lots of snow. Oh, that sounds beautiful. I understand that upstate New York is absolutely gorgeous. Someplace that I would eventually like to see. And there is Rob's channel link for everybody. So be sure to pay him a visit and say hi to both him, Sarah, and their dog Zeus, if you would. And Pauline Parker, good to see you in the chat again tonight. Pauline says, good evening, everyone. And Carmen says, I don't garden anymore since retirement. So I buy bulk from local farmers markets and dehydrate everything to have tons of veggies and fruits all winter. That is fantastic. I was thinking as I was putting in that garden that it sure would be easier just to go buy the veggies. But there's not really a good farmers market that I have found. I guess there is a farmer's market in this area at some point, but I don't know when. I don't even know how I would find out. I guess they probably have a Facebook page, but I don't do Facebook. But I am so happy for you that you get to do that and that you're able to dehydrate everything and put it away for the winter months too. And Ira says the netting or remay would work great for the flea beetles. Yes. So what I used, I didn't buy garden netting because it was so expensive. What I used was fine crinoline or tulle for that you would use for sewing. I just bought a bolt of it, the cheapest one I could find at the fabric store, and then just run that across. And I just put in PVC pipes that I just bent over. I created a small hoop, and then I held it down with rocks when I did it back in Colorado. And that's probably what I'll wind up doing here as well. And Ashley says, love seeing Kenai in his net. Yes, he was really, really good. The first time I put it on him, he doesn't seem to mind it at all. I think he knows that when it's on, the mosquitoes aren't biting him because they go straight for his nose. And the poor thing is just pocked with blood marks after it. So as long as he'll let me put it on him, I'm going to keep doing it. And Donna says, hello all, alone in Kenai. Hope your garden and a new run for Kenai is working well. Seems to be so far. So fingers crossed that it will be. I did get some questions about, do I think the snow load coming off the roof in the wintertime will crush the fence? And I do. I do honestly think that it'll damage that fence. So my plan is in the wintertime, because it's not a permanent structure, is that I will just disconnect the fence panels that are closest to the cabin and set those back out of range of the snowfall, and hopefully that'll keep it from being damaged. So it won't do me much good for Kenai this winter out there as a run, but that's okay. It will eventually get a cover over it, and then I won't have to worry about the snowfall in that area. But then again, at that point, it probably won't be a garden either because it won't get the same amount of sunlight. So I am in the process of getting the backyard leveled, and that's where the formal garden will go. The actual permanent kitchen garden will go back there. And Pauline says, sorry for misspelling of your name. I take no offense. You don't have to apologize. I know that spelling errors are just part of typing on the computer or a phone if you're commenting. So yeah, no worries whatsoever. And I'm sure Rob's the same way since he just said no worries. And Ashley said, insert the Jeopardy's theme song. Yeah, I was thinking about that I need to have like a little video montage that plays whenever I have to pause the screen, and that I should have some music loaded as well. That would be funny though if it was Jeopardy. And Rob says, I see the armory behind you. Yeah, that's just a small selection. I did actually just pick up some gun safes, so I will be able to get these things put up where hopefully someone can't break in and easily take my firearms. That would be nice if I could get these actually put up. What I've been doing is running braided cable through the around and through the triggers and what have you, so that if someone did break in while I was gone, they would have to cut that cable in order to get it quickly off, or they'd have to remove, some hardware from the guns in order to get it done. But it wouldn't be easy. So hopefully, though, those gun safes do the trick. And Dixieland Homestead, how are you doing tonight? Dixieland says, hi, Annie. Hi, Dixieland. So glad to see you in the chat again. And Ashley says to Rob, did you hack my phone? Oh my goodness. And there is Dixieland's channel link for everybody. So be sure to pay Dixieland a visit. And Dixieland is saying, nice to see you, to Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn. Antonazzi says to Rob, armory is something we aren't allowed these days. Yes, Australia does have some very tight laws regarding firearms, and I find that to be quite unfortunate. I think it's important to have not only for one's safety, but I also believe that it's important to have hunting rifles and means of game harvesting so that you can fill your larders without having to necessarily spend the almighty dollar at the store. And Rob says that's not good as well, to the lack of being able to have an armory there in Australia. And Dixieland is saying, nice to see you, to Onto It Aussie. And hi, Diana. Diana Lickenwaller is here. Diana is a friend of mine, and she says, hi, everyone. How's it going? So glad to see you in the chat tonight, Diana. And Charles O'Neill, so glad to see you again tonight. Charles says, hello, everyone. I'm from Montana somewhere today. I'm glad I finally got my truck stopped in time for the live. Well, thank you, Charles. I'm glad you did too. And I'm glad you're able to hang out with us tonight and help keep us all company. And Brooklyn's back. Hey, Brooklyn, I missed you the last couple of weeks. Good to see you again. And Brooklyn says, hey, Alone and everyone. Hope all is well. Hope all is well with you also, Brooklyn. And Lonnie Poe, good to see you again tonight, my friend. And Lonnie says hello from Maryland. And let's see here. Ashley and Rob are saying hello to Brooklyn, and so is Dixieland. And Charles is saying hello to Dixieland. Pat says, meat tenderizer, never heard of that. So meat tenderizer is, it's a powder, like a seasoning type thing. And it has some enzyme in it or something that when you sprinkle it on your meat, it's kind of like seasoning salt is what it reminds me of, is and how it looks. But when you sprinkle it on the meat, it has an enzyme reaction that actually breaks down the proteins in the meat and makes it more tender when you cook it. So that's what it is. It's available in the spice aisle of most grocery stores. And there is Brooklyn's channel link. So be sure to pay Brooklyn a visit. And Diana says, all I can plant this year is flowers, but next year, watch out. We have a greenhouse in the garage that's ready to build as soon as we have a new property to put it on. Yeah, I bet you're so excited. I haven't heard anything from you recently about some of the properties you've been looking at over the last couple of weeks, but I hope it's all going well. And I hope that you get that dream property here soon so that next year you could get your garden in early, because I know you're going to love it. And Brooklyn is saying hi to Rob over at Curmudgeon and Dixieland. And hello, Christina, Oklahoma, Ohio. How are you doing tonight? So glad to see you again. And Christina says, yay, I made it. Hello, Alone and everyone. Well, thank you for being here tonight, Christina. And Chris Watson, my friend, how are you doing tonight? Chris says, as you were, I'm not really here. I'm an existential nothing. I beg to differ. I'm so glad to see you in the chat at least. And I hope you're doing well tonight, Chris. And Diana says, so it is official that Nomi won the chicken coop contest. He sure made his aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, I'm sure those chickens are loving it. He actually made quite the cute little chicken coop. And I don't see Nomi in the chat tonight, but Rob, if you could throw up Gnomestead's channel link for everybody, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm sure Gnomestead would as well. And hello, Shannon. How you doing tonight? Shannon says, love your effort on the garden project video. Just wondering, as the video got me wondering on water, where you live for your garden or yourself, do you have a well? So I do not have a well on my property, nor will I be getting a well because of the elevation that I sit at and where the known aquifers are in this area. It would be quite costly to get water. Two other factors about putting a well in this area. One is that those people that have tried to put wells in this area have been unsuccessful at getting a decent flow rate out of the well. And the other thing is that the water here is not actually palatable. It's very coppery and sulfuric. It just is not good water. And so everybody that I've spoken to, down this valley that I live in has said, yeah, you're not going to get a well. They're like, nobody has a well in this area. Other than the places that the state has put in where, I go to get water. But what I am doing is when I moved into, and I meant to show this in the video and I just left it out for whatever reason. But when I moved into the cabin, the previous owners had a 300 or 500 gallon, I think it's 300 gallon water storage tank here on the property. Now, I've never used it for a couple of reasons. One is it was left with standing water in it for years, and it's really disgusting in there. And I didn't really have a really good way of cleaning it out. So the other thing is I don't have a truck that it'll fit into where I can take it to go fill it up with water. But my neighbors have offered to come fill it with water from their totes. So I've set it in the corner of the dog run up between the two walls of the cabin. And I'm going to clean it out as best as I can with just, filling it up with some water and a little bit of bleach. And then rinsing it out before they come to fill it up. But I'll be using that to water the garden with. So yeah, I thought about that too, because what I've been doing is just filling the watering can with the 5-gallon jerry cans that I have. But it's taking about, at this moment, 15 to 20 gallons of water to water that bed. Once the plants come up and they're a little bit more established, I will be putting some mulch down in between the plants to hold the moisture in and keep it from drying out so much from the winds and the sunlight. But because everything is still in seed or just barely popping up, I need to wait just a little bit before I do that. But that's a great question. Thank you for asking that, Shannon. And Christina is saying hello to Dixieland. And Brooklyn is saying, surprisingly, that's the one thing I don't have in my spice cabinet is meat tenderizer. Yeah, I don't either because I just use a mallet. I do use, a metal meat tenderizer to tenderize the meat when I need to. And Rob is saying to Diana, we will be having a live together in a week or so to discuss it all. There you go, regarding the chicken coop. And Ira says, I have heard of accent meat tenderizer for bee stings. There you go. There you go. Another reference to it working. And Mountain Mariner says, I once put meat tenderizer on meat. Imagine that, someone using it for what it's meant for. And Big T says, toasting all of you with a cup of green tea. Yummy. And same to everyone. I've got a bottle of water and cranberry juice here. My go-to soda is cranberry juice. And Brooklyn is saying, I never use it, lol, regarding the meat tenderizer. Hello, Patty Roberts. How are you doing tonight? Patty says, hi, Alone and everyone. Enjoyed your garden video. It's very hard work maintaining a garden. Admire your work, your hard work, and your determination. I know exactly what you mean, but I have to admit that working in the garden is probably one of the most relaxing things other than fishing that I can think of doing. I absolutely love being out in the garden, just tending to the plants and pulling weeds and harvesting. So I'm looking forward to when things actually are ready to be harvested for sure. But thank you for the admiration. And Ira says, we love our light humor. It's a bright spot of our Monday nights. Well, thank you. I appreciate that too. And I appreciate everyone who has some humor going on in the chat as well. It does keep things lively here for sure. Betty K, so nice to see you again tonight. Betty K says, hello, everyone. Love the garden alone. Well, thank you for that, Betty. And Brooklyn says, I've been using the cabbage for homemade shrimp egg rolls. Oh, that sounds good. It's been my craving lately. Yes, that sounds fantastic. I love Asian food. So anything Asian, you can pretty much guarantee that I'm going to at least try it, if not devour it. And Two Bear says, I won't scold you for no face screen. They make me sick to my stomach. Seriously. They're hard to look through if you're paying attention to the mesh for sure. But I do like to have it on. And Ashley says, Two Bears, not a good mix with the chainsaw, being sick to your stomach. Yes, this is true for sure. And Diana says, I get in trouble for finding humor in the wrong situations. I think I'm right there with you, Diana. The funeral home didn't deliver my mom's ashes to her funeral. So I joked that she would be horrified that she was late to her own funeral. When I was pregnant with one of my children, I had issue after issue after issue the entire pregnancy, and I was joking the whole way through it about the issues, and nobody found the humor in what I was saying but myself, because they're like, you've been on bed rest for 9 months, like how are you still laughing about this? I'm like, because if you don't laugh, what good is it? You have to be able to laugh at things for sure. And Ira says, we have fresh figs out of our ears. We are happy that the birds are enjoying them too, even though they take a bite out of each one. Oh my goodness. I would love to have fresh figs. I tried growing fig trees back in Colorado, but I had zero success with it. So I'm happy that you're able to get some. And Linda Morris says, I absolutely love seeing Kenai wearing his face net. If he could talk, I'm sure he'd thank you. Yeah, there's times where I try to get him to say something, but he's so quiet. He rarely makes a noise. So when, and even in the outtakes, when he was making noise, that's why I was giggling, because I was like, it's so unlike him to ever make noise. Was never Nurse Ratched. How are you doing tonight? So glad to see you back. And she says, hello, everyone. Just in from the farm in Florida, checking everything again, ready for possible hurricane later. Oh my goodness. I know you were saying that you were having warnings over the last few days. So hopefully you stay safe, and hopefully your neighbors do as well. And Two Bears says, nope, Ashley, if I wear the face screen, I feel like I am car sick. Ugh, that's not good. And hello, Ona Muir. How are you doing tonight? Ona says, just stumbled across your live. When and where do we get noticed? Hello, alone. Well, if you subscribe to the channel and you turn on bell notifications or turn on notifications when you subscribe, it should send you an alert to tell you. But I will tell you that my lives are every Monday night at 5 p.m. Alaska Standard Time, with the exception of one that I missed due to a power outage. But other than that, without fail, you'll find me here on Monday nights at 5 o'clock Alaska Standard Time. And then at least once a month on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock Alaska Standard Time. Now, that one fluctuates on what Saturday it'll fall on, just because it is summertime and things are rather busy here. But I do try to get the notice up at least a day in advance or the day of, so that early in that day, so that you can get the bell notification sent to you of when that Saturday night one will be. But otherwise, just plan on Monday nights at 5 o'clock and I'll be here, and happy to see you with me too. And hello, Oliver Jackson. Good to see you again. Oliver says, hello, alone, and everyone. I hope hope all is doing well. Well, we hope the same for you, Oliver. So glad you could join us. And Rob is saying to Ashley, what do you mean about the phone? And Dixieland says, happy you are here. We agree too, Onamir. And Antorasi says, come on, everyone, give Alone the thumbs up and hit the like button. Well, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And Ashley says, the Armory, to Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn. And hello, Marty. How are you doing tonight? Marty Hetrick says, yes, I am for hunting. Yes, I think it's a great way of sustaining oneself for sure. And I'm so glad to see you here with us tonight as well, Marty. And Was Never Nurse Ratched said, well, never give mine up. Going down with the finger on the trigger. No fear here. Same way. Like, bury me with them if you have to, because I'm not letting go of them. And if the government ever decides that they're going to finally do away with this Second Amendment here, well, they can come grip them out of my cold, dead hands. And Chris Watson says, Maryland is well represented on this channel. It indicates how dissatisfied people are with the Marxist dystopia. I agree. I absolutely agree. I think when I look at those that are watching my channel and the comments that I receive and everything, it seems like a lot of people are not satisfied with the way things are going politically and economically in our country, and socially as well. And I'm glad to see that there are so many like-minded individuals out there. So thank you, each and every one of you, and keep up the good fight, if I do say so myself. And Caprito Von, I can't say your last name without messing it up, so I'm going to pass. But Caprito, thank you for being here. And Caprito says, hi, Miss Alone. Do you plan to opening up where the trees are? If so, will you put a tall fence around your property eventually? Kenai will be happy. Yes, I do. So as I mentioned in that video, basically everything you saw in the back of the property, from that little yellow building to the fallen cottonwood that I had felled when I first moved into the property, the big mound of dirt, and the raised garden beds, the mounds, garden mounds rather, that were back there before, all those sapling trees, all of that is coming down because where the garden was originally sitting, I plan on putting in a shop, a garage, essentially a place for me to park my car. Hopefully down the road, I get a tractor, a snow machine, things that I really need here on the property to be comfortable and successful here on the property. So there will be a shop going up, a greenhouse going up, an outdoor kitchen eventually going up. And that dirt mound was all the dirt that came out from underneath the cabin when they put in the cellar. So the cellar was only put in 8 years ago. This cabin was built in 1970, but the cellar didn't go in until 8 years ago. So they lifted the cabin up off its foundation, dug it all out, had it up on stilts, and put all that dirt over there. And it was just an eyesore. And that old yellow building was basically just a 3-log or 4-log high pony wall with a teepee type pitch to it. And then they just literally put a tarp over it and sprayed it with closed cell foam. And so all of those things came down or are coming down because there's still work to be done back there. And when they come down, and eventually I'll be getting a fence put around a big portion of the back of the property. That way Kenai can have a place to run freely without having to worry about being on a lead or in such a small, tiny, confined area. And I can be back there gardening and cooking and whatever without having to worry too much about a bear or a moose. That fence will also be electrified with various strands running up the course of the fencing so that a bear hopefully gets zapped before it gets the opportunity to climb over that fence. But it's going to be quite costly, so that might take the longest out of anything to do. So if I get the awning put up over the front of the cabin like I want to do next year, then I'll just move that dog run to the back of the property and just have a small garden back there in the meantime so that I can at least get some fresh crops from my own property. And Brooklyn says, always hit the like button as soon as I come on so I don't forget. Well, that's smart. And I do appreciate it too, Brooklyn. And Brooklyn says, sorry, been spending time with my daughter before she leaves. Oh, that's hard. I'm so glad to hear, though, that you're taking that time with her before she heads out. It's nice of you to do that. I hope she stays safe, though, in all of her travels that she's going to be doing. And Ira says, welcome back, Brooklyn. And Ona says hi to Dixieland. And Dixieland says, everyone, please be sure to hit the like button. Thank you again, Dixieland, for doing that. And Poor Man says, you can use citrus fruit to break down meat as a tenderizer too. Yes, and Coca-Cola, I understand, will do the same thing. Oh, and Ira, by the way, Brooklyn says hello as well. And Chris Watson says, I don't believe in bearing arms. Bearing arms believes in me, though. Always a prankster or jokester, Chris is. And Two Bears says, mud works great for bee stings. Interesting. So does baking soda. If you just put a little bit of wet baking soda on there with a little bit of vinegar, I think it's the foaming action will pull that bee sting right out of the skin. And Was Never Nurse Ratchet says, alone saw gardening video earlier today, made lots of comments. You were doing a great job. No bad days, just learning days. Yeah, I thought about it as I was editing the video. I was like, oh, people are going to realize that sometimes I'm very hard on myself, but I'm very goal oriented. I like to set deadlines. I like to set timeframes of when I have to get certain things done by, and especially right now because I needed to get that out of there because I had the work about to start on the back of the property, and I didn't want the guys to be like, well, this is in our way and we don't have time to help you, so we're just going to push it down into the woods. So I was like, I need to get this out of here. But luckily I got it out of there before they got here, so that's a good thing. But they still have a lot of work to do back there too, so I still have more I need to do, but at least they've given me a little bit of time to get some things done. And Danny says, here in Florida, oh, and by the way, Marty said to give thumbs up as well. So thank you for that, Marty. And Danny says, here in Florida, when you step on a man of war or a stingray, the EMT uses meat tenderizer on the wound. Oh, very interesting. I did not know that. That is interesting as well. So the man of war is, their stings are brutal. absolutely brutal. So that's interesting that they would use the meat tenderizer there as well. And Christina is also saying to give thumbs up. I really appreciate it, folks. And there is Nomi's channel link for everybody. So you can go and see the chicken coop that he built. And then also be sure to check out Rob's channel over at the Curmudgeon Inn and see his chicken coop build also. They got a little war of who can do the better one and the best one and the first at getting them built. So be sure to check out both of their channels. And AK Homegrown Roots, how are you doing tonight? So glad to see you again in the chat. And they say, hi, everyone. Sorry I missed several podcasts. Been busy planting. Yay, that's awesome. As you know, I did too. And so I'm so glad that you were able to get your garden in also. And Homegrown Roots is saying hi to Rob over in Alaska. And Dixieland is saying, and so is Rob, saying hi back. And Oliver Jackson says, hello, Alone and everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Well, we hope the same for you, Oliver. And Dixieland and Rob are saying hi to Oliver. And Chris Watson says, apparently Kodiak, the cat, is fine. Phew, was glad to hear that as I cussed the scammer out and blocked them low. I love screwing with the scammers. Yeah, the scammers are the worst. So for everyone who's on here who maybe didn't see my community post, I got hit with a scammer on my channel. They're posing as me, though their channel name uses my icon and my channel name, but then is followed with a series of numbers. And they're saying, hey, I need cash. Send me cash via WhatsApp. And then they provide a phone number to link it to. That is not me. I will never ask anybody to send me money. I do have legitimate ways that if you feel the urge to donate to the channel to help support the channel with camera gear and, things that the channel itself needs or that maybe I have on my Amazon wish list, I have legitimate means of how you can do that. But WhatsApp is never something that I will use, and I will never come out and say, hey, I need money. That's not how this works. It's if you feel the need to support the creators that you like, creators like myself have legitimate ways that you can do that. But we would never come right out and say, hey, send me cash. That's just not how this works. But just everyone know, if you see that, it's not me. And you can report that comment and that individual directly to YouTube and they will take them down. Donna says, Alone, can you do rain barrels catching rain for your garden? Yes, I can. I don't have any gutters right now, though. So I've thought about doing a couple of things. One, when I get the shop, I will have a rain gutter situation on that or on the greenhouse. Something that I can easily install and take down in the winter months. The other thing is that I've thought about putting up a rain catchment with literally just a funnel that would funnel in the rain into it, that would just stay up in the summer months and then come down. Also, if you watch Homestead Economics out of Arizona, he has a really awesome rain catchment system for himself there in the desert. And I've thought about doing something similar to his as well. So be sure to check out Homestead Economics. He has a fabulous channel. I really appreciate the content that he puts out because everything is so well done. I mean, absolutely, like the guy has a very high attention to detail, more so than I do. I'm not that great. I get halfway through and then I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I just want to get it done, where he follows through and makes everything immaculate. So, but thank you for that question. That's a great question. And Lisa Waddell, how are you doing tonight? Lisa says, what have you cooked for supper lately? That is a good question. I cooked the other night. Why can I remember what it is? Jambalaya. I absolutely love gumbo and jambalaya. So I cooked some jambalaya the other night, and I'll cook that in an upcoming recipe video at some point. And then other than that, scalloped potatoes and ham with some peas. Also one of my favorite meals. I could eat an entire casserole dish full of scalloped potatoes all by myself. I love scalloped potatoes. I think they're really tasty. That's my comfort food, I would say. And then what else have I fixed lately? I don't really remember. I've been eating a lot of candy though. That's the one thing I've been gorging on candy, and that's probably not really good for me, but sure does taste good. And it's quick because you just grab a piece and go. Carrie Ann says, definitely need to get meat tenderizer for my first aid kit. Yes, put some in there for sure. And Rob says, not sure if you mentioned it yet, but warn about the scammer posing as you. Yep. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate that. And also something else that I haven't mentioned for everybody, speaking of Rob and all these other Alaska channels, is that there will be a YouTuber Rondi happening in, I think it's at the Meadow Lake Civic Center on August 12th. And there will be a bunch of YouTubers there. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it or not. I'm still looking at when my son is coming up. That might interfere with me being able to attend. But either way, if you're going to be in Alaska at that time, you can check out Rob's channel, Gnomestead's channel, or even Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead and get details of when it's going to be. Again, it'll be August 12th. I think the festivities start at either like 10 a.m. or noon, and then run through the afternoon at the Meadow Lake Civic Center. I think if I said that correctly. If not, Rob, if you could post the details up in the comments, that would be great. I'm sure people would appreciate it. And Diana says, I had a turtle absent on Saturday. We hunted for him the rest of the weekend. Dan finally found him this afternoon. Yay, he's an eastern box turtle, so he doesn't do well in heat. Woo! Well, I'm glad you found him. Was he tunneling down underneath to stay cool in the soil like Kenai was doing in my garden? I wouldn't blame him if he was, but I am glad you found your turtle for sure. And Brooklyn says, damn scammers are out of control. That they are. They are everywhere. And I thought for sure that YouTube's new way of putting up people's handles as opposed to their channel names might prevent that. But now they just throw the numbers behind it. And, you know, people unfortunately just glance and see the icon and think it's the original person. And it's unfortunate. But do be aware and don't ever, you know, fall for those things. Let's see here. Two Bears says, for your gardens, catch the rain water off of your roofs. That is what I do. You'll be surprised at how much water you get even with a light rain. Yes, I do know that you can get quite a significant amount of water, even if you just had a small roof, catching all that water and funneling it into a container. So yeah, if I can get some gutters to do that, that's exactly what I'll do. But right now, I don't have any gutters whatsoever. And Dixieland says to Rob, I seen that. It makes me so mad that they do that. I agree. And Ed says, I agree. A loan needs to catch the rain. Yes. Especially because, you know, it rains early in the spring and then it'll start raining in the fall. But any little bit of rain that I can get here in the summer months would be greatly appreciated if I could collect a portion of that. And Joni says to Brooklyn, that sounds amazing and really healthy. Would love the recipe. I'm not sure what comment I missed there. Yes. Sorry if I missed that one. And Rob says to Two Bears, right? We have 4 275-gallon ICB totes that we will be filling with rainwater for the gardens. That's fantastic. That's a lot of water. Like I said, I think mine's just a 300-gallon tank and I have to make it last for as long as possible. But I'm sure my neighbors would come fill it up for me again if I asked them to. And Diana says, it's laugh or cry, and I'd much rather laugh. I agree. Life is too short to spend it any other way. Rob is saying to Ira, oh my God, send those figs up to Alaska. Love good figs. Yes, I agree. And Clint says, that was a scammer. I gave them my banking info because they said I won a cash prize. Ouch. That would be horrible if anybody ever actually fell for that. Antuadasi says, is there any way you could run a gutter off of just your Arctic entry to collect rain for your garden? I might be able to run it off of the woodshed would probably be the best because that's where it has the most roof line coming down. And it's low enough that I could reach it. I can't really reach the Arctic entry roof line unless I'm standing on something. But the woodshed, I can reach it because it's only about 6.5 feet tall. So I can reach up there and hook one of those up pretty easily. But yeah, I think I might just go do that. Just get a cheap gutter and set it up and do that, because otherwise I'm missing a great opportunity. So thank you for that suggestion. And Ira says, have you been making homemade Asian dumplings, or have been making homemade Asian dumplings here with cabbage, mushroom filling? We have no close good Asian restaurants, so we learned to make our own. That's what I did. I learned that if I wanted good food, I probably needed to learn how to make it, because I couldn't afford to go out and eat all the time. One of the things that I used to do too was, because I wasn't very good at making the dumpling dough myself, is that I would just get uh, Chinese noodles, like chow fun noodles. So they're a thicker, uh, flatter noodle, kind of like a white egg noodle. And I would just cook those up, and then I would make the filling for egg rolls or for dumplings, and make some hot chili oil and eat it like a bowl. And it really cured the craving for gyoza or Chinese dumplings, dim sum, all of that. I was just like, yeah, this is fantastic. Quick and easy, and tastes just as good, I think, as the original. And Rob over at Curmudgeon Inn says, onto an Aussie, gutters are cheap. I just purchased 60 to 70 feet of gutter and hardware, and it was about 140 bucks. That's good to know. Thank you for that, Rob. I really appreciate that information, because I was wondering how much it might cost me just to do the simple run of the woodshed, which would be about 20 feet. So that's good to know. I could do it really inexpensively. Was Never Nurse Ratchet said, everyone, thumbs up, please. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And Ed over at Mountain Mariner says, my 2 small 55-gallon water barrels fill up in about 30 minutes in a moderate rainfall. You could hinge the gutter so you can swing it down for winter. I plan on doing my gutters that way this summer. Yes, that's exactly what my plan is. When I do get gutters, is to actually have them hinge so they can just roll up into where the soffit area is and not be ripped off by any falling snow. So that's also good to know how much water you're getting in just a small amount of time. And Rob says, 109 peeps in here and only 88 thumbs up. Thumbs up, please, says Dixieland. Thank you both. I appreciate that. And Rob is saying to Ed over at Mountain Mariner, do a video on that. We would love to see how that works. I agree. That would be a fantastic video. Brooklyn says to Joni, I saute ginger, garlic. Oh, for the shrimp. Yes. Shrimp egg rolls. Sorry. She says, I saute ginger, garlic, shrimp, and cabbage with white pepper and leek kum key, light and dark soy sauce, oyster sauce with 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. That brand has the best flavor. Well, good to know. And thank you for sharing that recipe with us, Brooklyn. It sounds delicious. And Onto It Ozzy says to Rob, I wish everything is so expensive here. Yes, it's kind of how I feel about Alaska, but it's not as expensive as some places, I guess. So maybe I should count my blessings. Rob says, wow, that again is not good. Onto it, Aussie. Brooklyn says to Ira, it is so much better homemade. I agree. Homemade, you can make it exactly how you want it, and you know it's going to taste good because you put the things in it that you like. And Wayne Sperlin says, I like the song, You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. Baby, baby, baby. Oh my goodness. That's true for sure. And hello, Kathy Barron. How are you doing tonight? Kathy says, hi from Michigan. I'm a little late. Well, better late than never. I'm so glad you could join us though. And there is Ed's channel link. So be sure to check out Ed and see if he does post a video of his rain catchment system and his fold away gutters. And hello, you little brother. Let's see here. And says, hi, y'all. At Gone Wild. Nice to see you. So glad you could join us. And Steve's Woodworking in a Homestead. Hi, Steve. I saw your email, but it came in late when I finally saw it. I know it came in on time, but I didn't see it till late. So apologies. I wasn't able to join you on your live stream this past Saturday, but hopefully I will be able to on one of the upcoming ones. And Steve says, hi, everybody. Just got back from the homestead. No running water yet. So time to hit the shower. Thank goodness for hot water. Be right back. Well, enjoy that hot shower. I'm sure that after not having one for a while, you're going to enjoy it. Joni says to Brooklyn, thank you. I just happen to have all of that on hand and I'm going to make them. Yum. I hope you enjoy. And Captain Walker 27, how are you doing tonight? So glad to see you. And Captain says defund gun control. I agree. That's what really needs to be defunded. Was Never Nurse Ratchet said, I'm exactly the same way. I totally understand. Perfect. Dixieland is saying hi to Steve's Woodworking. And Brooklyn says to Joni, amounts of sauces depend upon the size of the batch of egg rolls I'm making. I freeze some for the air fryer, but also like them fried. I think they sound delicious either way you do it. And Ona says, thanks. Like to catch you all live. Well, thank you, Ona. We appreciate you being here with us tonight. And we appreciate Adam and Phyllis from Alaska Cut the Cord being here. And they say Adam and Phyllis checking in from the greenhouse. Fantastic. Adam and Phyllis also just put up a video, and here is their channel link regarding their greenhouse build. So be sure to check out their channel and tell them that Alone sent you. I'm sure they would greatly appreciate that. And they are a lot of fun to watch as well. And we got a couple people here, Crumudge and Dixieland, saying hello to Adam and Phyllis. And Brooklyn says, anyone with common sense would know it's not you asking for money. Hopefully. That's right. Hopefully. Let's just say I know some people who are certified geniuses, members of Mensa, but common sense is not one of the things that they possess readily. And so sometimes I worry about the things that they think, because I'm like, I know you got book smarts, way beyond what I could ever have. But oh my goodness, some of the things they do, I'm like, don't ever go out on the street. I'm afraid you might not make it. And Ashley is saying hello to Cut the Cord. And so is Brooklyn. And Shannon says, just a little tidbit of info. Meat tenderizer has an enzyme called pepepin extract from papaya that gift Veritas down proteins, venom from bites, etc. Yeah, and papaya, for everybody who doesn't know, is can be used on the skin as an exfoliant. It will help to remove the outer layers of skin, but I wouldn't leave it on too long because it is quite potent at what it does, and it could leave some redness and a little bit of irritation on the skin. But thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. I was wondering what the enzyme was in it that was doing the trick, and that makes perfect sense. And Dixieland says to Brooklyn, yes, indeed, it is just not Annie at all. That is true, true, true. And Alaska Cut the Cord is saying hi to Rob, Ashley, and Dixie, and to Brooklyn. Rob says the YouTuber Rondi that I was mentioning earlier is on August 12th at the Meadow Lakes. It's at a park. So bring a jacket and come and enjoy the day with all of your favorite YouTubers who will be there. I think that one of the channels has probably put up a list of the 10 channels that will be there. And like I said, I'm still trying to figure out if I'll be able to attend or not. But if not, I'll be there in spirit for sure. And Wayne Guthier, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for being here. I really appreciate seeing you in the chat again. And Was Never Nurse Ratchet, thank you so much for the super sticker of $19.99. I appreciate that as well. That will definitely help to keep some of my subscriptions going for my music subscriptions and things like that. So thank you, because those are due right now. So I appreciate that. And Rob over at the Curmudgeon Inn says, woohoo, to Was Never Nurse Ratchet. So again, thank you very much. And she says, of course, anytime, here to help. I appreciate it. Dixieland says, everyone be sure to prep a lot of medical herbs. I agree with that. And also to prep the knowledge. If you come across a herbal remedy that you trust, that you can, verify the source of where the information is coming from and validate the supposed results or effects of it, write it down, write it down, write it down. Do not store it in your phone. Do not store it on your computer. Write it down, print it out, or do something to get it stored on paper. Because if you're ever in a power outage and you need that information, you may not be able to get to it if you don't have internet or access to power up your phone or your computer. So I do believe in writing it down. The other thing is that there has been a tendency over the last few years to take this type of information offline. So I know that there were a couple of recipes that I've referred to over the years, and when I went to go find them, I had a difficult time finding them. I did eventually, but it took me an extensive amount of time to locate them. So I speak from experience when I say to write them down. And Ernie's Cabin is here with us again tonight. Thank you, Ernie. Appreciate you being here. And Ernie says, hello, everyone. Hope you're all having a great summer and loved your garden video. Well, thank you, Ernie. I appreciate that so much. And Two Bears says, you don't need rain gutters. I don't have any. I catch a lot of water in stock tanks. Oh, just line them up under the pitch. That's good to know too. That is a great idea also. Thank you for that. And though I do wonder if I would have issues with mosquitoes, I guess I could stretch some netting over the top of it though to keep the mosquitoes out. So thank you for that, Two Bears. Much appreciated. And there is Ernie's Cabin channel link. Thank you, Rob, for posting that for everybody. Be sure to pay Ernie a visit and tell him Alone sent you. And Rob says to Two Bears, we have stock tanks as well. Good to know. Good to know. And Entre Aussie says, would love to get to Alaska meetup. Checked airfares. Ouch. Yes, it is expensive to get up here right now for sure. But I think the fares fluctuate. I don't know if it's like if you buy earlier or later that the fares get better, probably earlier, but also with it being summer months, everything is more expensive up here. I just booked a what do you call it? A VBRO, a vacation rental by owner, for my fishing trip that I'm taking on the Kenai Peninsula. And I was shocked at what the summer rates are. Um, it what I paid the last time I went down to the peninsula to get the stone for my countertop versus what they're charging now is night and day difference in some of those cabins. Like their rates before were, you know, relatively reasonable, and now some of them are charging upwards of $500, $700, or $900 a night to stay at their places. And I'm just like, who can afford to pay that? So ridiculous. But I have to do that because I take Kenai with me. And so it's better to give him a place where he can run around than a hotel room where, I have to unnecessarily walk down a hallway with him and avoid other people and what have you. It's just easier if we get in vacation home for a night or two on that fishing trip. So hopefully he enjoys it, though. I keep looking back at him. Rob over the Convention Inn says, onto it, Aussie. I bet it's not cheap from down that way. That's the other thing, is you're coming from quite the distance. And Big T over at Rustic Log Cabin Life says, I have the right to keep and bear arms. I agree. That is our right, and we need to hold on to it. Ooh, Entre Aussie says it's a $3,000 plane ticket right now to come up from Australia to Alaska. That is outrageous. And that's one way. Yikes. Ooh, that puts a dent in the pocketbook for sure. And Brooklyn says, also, if you have a pasta press, you can use that to make egg roll wrappers and dumpling wrappers if you don't want to hand roll or don't have any access to store-bought. That's fantastic. That's good to know. I need to get a pasta press for sure. I have looked at them over the years and always thought, oh, I'll get one later, and I never do. But I think it's about time that I probably invest into one. Rob over the Convention Inn says 10-foot lengths of plastic gutter is about $6.79 a length. Hardware costs more. Well, that's fantastic. I probably have the hardware. Well, I don't know if I have the clips to hang them up, but I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to head off and get one of those next time that I'm in town because it makes the most sense. So thank you for that, Rob. Iris says, I would love to share the figs, Cremudge. My great-grandfather was a fig grower in Turkey who died at 32. So my mom and I especially appreciate the figs. Oh, well, I'm sorry you lost your grandfather so early on, but I am glad that you were able to take on his knack for growing such a delicious fruit for sure. And Joni says, what about using a tarp to set up rain catchment and fill until you get some gutters? Yep, that's a great idea too. That's exactly one of the things I was talking about, was like doing it in a funnel type shape. I've seen it done before in a couple different variations, and then just have it drain right into your catchment system. So great idea. Thank you for that, Joni. And Rob says to Ira, we used to eat a lot of figs back in Florida. They are just hard to find up here. Yes, that is for sure. As well as citrus fruit. Finding good citrus fruit is hard. Now, granted, Costco had some, as you guys may have seen on one of my most recent videos of, the cuties and boxes of oranges and things like that. But if you don't have a Costco membership, getting fresh produce up here, fresh citrus is sometimes difficult. By the time we get it, it's not exactly in the best condition. Ira says, alone, the dumpling wrappers are okay. 2 ingredients, flour and water. I also love making fried rice. Yes, I still owe you guys speaking of fried rice, I still owe you guys a couple spam recipes. But every time I tried to film those spam recipes, I don't know what it was. I think it was just that I wasn't comfortable so much with the recipes that I was making. And so the filming turned out horrific. It was not good. So maybe I'll give it another try at some point with some other spam recipes that I'm more comfortable with. But we'll see how those ones come out. And there is Dixieland's channel link for everybody. So be sure to pay Dixieland a visit if you would. And Rob is saying to Steve's Woodworking, you snuck in on me. Boo. And Dixieland says, thank you so much, Rob. And Clint says, have there been any more critters show up? The only thing I have seen show up, well, I have one thing that I'm going to be showing in my next video, but I'm not going to discuss it here. So you'll just have to wait and see that video to see what happened. But the only thing outside of that I've seen show up here is moose. A lot of moose, that's for sure. In fact, the other day I was coming down the road, and had I not been paying attention, I would have run smack dab into a big bull moose crossing the road. So the moose are definitely out in force right now for sure. And it's good to see that they've got some youngins with them as well. But they look awfully skinny this year, a lot skinnier than I recall them seeing last year. So I think they had quite the harsh winter, and they're just now trying to fatten themselves up. And there is Steve's Woodworking and Homesteads channel link. So be sure to pay Steve a visit if you would. And Brooklyn says, exactly, Ira, about the wrappers. And Darlene Rodriguez, thank you for being here. Darlene says, I'm late because I was watching your latest video where you put in your garden. That's a great excuse. That's a great reason to be late. I mean, that's not an excuse. It's a great reason to be late. I was watching for bears in your background. I got your back, girl. Well, thank you, Darlene. I appreciate that. And Chris says, remember a 1/4 inch of fall per 10-foot run for gutter slope. Well, thank you for that very much. So what he's talking about is you don't want them level. And you want to, for every 10 feet, you want to come down 1/4 of an inch in your difference of height. So one end would be higher than the other. Thank you, Chris. I greatly appreciate that. And the way I think of it is always a 2% slope, but yours is actually easier to remember than the 2% formulation. And Rob and Dixieland are saying hello to Darlene. And Poor Man says, sorry, I had to step out and fry up some wieners for my dog. Oh, I bet your dog's a happy dog right now. And I greatly appreciate you coming back after doing that. And Liberty Can, how you doing tonight? Liberty says, easy bread pudding from old bread. Half a loaf of bread broken up, mixed with 2 eggs and a glass of milk and nutmeg and a 1/4 cup of sugar, baked at 250 for 30 minutes. That sounds fantastic too. I love a good bread pudding. I think that is just like one of the best desserts that you can have because it's so simple and satisfying and filling all at the same time. So thank you for sharing that with us, Liberty. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you being in the chat as well. And Two Bear says, make a framework with window screen in it to cover your stock tanks and rain barrels to keep the crud and the skeeters out. Will do, Two Bears. Appreciate that. And Brooklyn says, common sense is so lacking these days. I agree. Especially, I don't know if you guys watch any of the videos about where people are interviewing people on the street. And it seems like the younger the generation, the less knowledge they have about the world or politics or geography. And it makes me wonder about their common sense too, because it's like, wait, if you don't even know that, how do you know other things? Like, they're just so wrapped up in just the superficial, if you will, is what it seems like for some of the people out there in the world. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot more to the world than what's happening right on your phone screen. And Onto It Aussie's channel link is up on the screen for everybody. So thank you, Rob, for putting that up. And be sure to pay Onto It Aussie a visit. And Chris says, how does one obtain your email if they don't do social media? Well, my email is, if you go to my channel page, it's in the about. So if you have, access to YouTube because you're on here, and you go to my channel page and you scroll all the way to the right and hit about, you'll see a link where it says send business inquiries or whatever. The email address, I think, is hidden behind a gray box. You just click on that and then you can email me directly from there. And my emails are moderated, by the way. So if you send me an email and I don't get it right away or I don't respond, it might be because my son has intervened with the email and either he hasn't passed it along to me, or I'm just behind in answering them. So do be aware, though, that all of my emails are moderated as well. And Diana said, whenever we get rain here, my husband puts out a 5-gallon buckets. The kiddie pools we use for the turtles and the sheppies, and any other large container we can find. We also use fish tank water. Well, that's good to know. I did use my bath water actually to water my garden, and I was thinking, I don't really want to do this. I don't think using my bath water is the best thing to be putting over leafy greens. But I figured the one time early on in the season isn't going to hurt it. But I was thinking I might just set up a charcoal water filter to filter the bath water so that I can use it without worrying about any contamination. I'm just like, I don't really want to drink my bath or eat my bath water, if that makes sense. And Diana says, we're so cheap, I refuse to pay for something that I can get for free. I'm kind of the same way, to be honest with you. I know there's a lot of things that I do that probably make it look like I'm not that frugal, but trust me, I am very frugal. I don't like to spend money where I don't have to spend money. And Dixieland says, I agree with Brooklyn's frugal pantry regarding the lack of common sense in people these days. And AFJ, I'm so glad to see you here tonight. I have something for you, AFJ. I've been thinking about you since Rob's last live stream. And AFJ says, good evening, Alone, and all those in the chat. Good to see you all. So on Rob's last live stream, we were talking about books. And one of the books that we were talking about was The Alaskan. And so I have my copy of The Alaskan here. And this book was published in my copy was published in 1922 or 23. But I had mentioned another book that I just picked up. This is a great read, by the way, for anybody who's interested in The Alaskan. But this is the book, AFJ, that I was telling you about, A Woman Who Went to Alaska. So instead of A Woman Who Moved to Alaska, it's A Woman Who Went to Alaska. And this book was published in 1915. So this is a very early story of someone coming up to Alaska. I don't know if we can get that on screen. I'm very bad at holding pages up. Like I said, it's like braiding your hair. How am I doing this? Well, I'll take a picture of it. I'll put it in my next video for you, FJ. But I wanted you to see that was the actual title, A Woman Who Went to Alaska. So I'm glad you popped into the chat so I could share that with you, because I felt bad after the last live stream that I said the title wrong. And we got hellos going to AFJ. And Rob says, Alone, who are you getting your oils from? We need to build a supply of good oils. So I had bought my oils when I was back in Colorado, and it was actually from a business that was having a closeout. So they're no longer around. But there is a company that you can buy direct from. I don't know if they actually sell direct or not. It's a wholesale company, but you might be able to buy direct from them. And but there's companies. The biggest company that I know of is, my brain just went blank. Well, there's little companies like Eden Botanicals and Liberty Naturals. Those are two companies that I know of. And then the big one is, I can't even think what their name is. They're like the biggest. If I remember it, I'm going to do a hodgepodge type video, because there are certain things that people have asked to see. So I'll add that to the hodgepodge video and let you guys know where a place is that you can get good essential oils that are trustworthy. Let me just make myself a note here. EO Oil Supplier. Because not all essential oils are created equally, for sure. There's also doTERRA. Here in Alaska, I was surprised. There is actually a doTERRA storefront that you can buy at. doTERRA does have good oils, but I don't know how they work in the lower 48. I know there's representatives kind of like Avon that you can buy your doTERRA oils from. So there's always that. But here in Alaska, I've not shipped any up to Alaska, because a lot of times it's hard to get them to ship things like that to you. That's not true. I did actually buy like some argan oil and things like that for my hair. And they shipped those up, but I bought those off of Amazon. I didn't really buy them from a supplier. So Amazon is also an option, but I would definitely read the reviews on the oil because, like I said, not all oils are created equally. But thank you for that question, Rob. And like I said, when I do the hodgepodge video, I'll add it to that as well. And Liberty says, dogs are great, man's best friend. I agree. Yeah, Kenai is definitely my best friend for sure. And he has the best personality too. Hi, Blanca. Blanca is here tonight. And Blanca says, hi from Anchorage. Oh, I'm so glad you're here in Alaska and you're watching. I'm glad to have you in the chat also. So thank you for that. Pat says, you need to write a book with your knowledge of food, garden, plants, and etc. I have been giving that some serious thought. I know the suggestion has come up about writing a cookbook. And at first I was kind of hesitant, like, I don't know, I'm already posting the videos and putting the recipes. And then I thought, wait, I'm sitting here telling you to write down your herbal remedies. So wouldn't you like to have the recipes written down in front of you too, where you could just flip a page and get to it as opposed to having to search for what video was that on again that she made that? So yeah, I'm giving it some serious thought. So I might do that for everybody because I think there are those out there would appreciate it. So I appreciate you offering the suggestion as well, Pat. Thank you. And AFJ says, hi, Rob. Hope all is well with you both. And Dixieland is saying hello to Blanca. And there is Nomi's channel link for everybody. So if you want again see the chicken coop and hear more about the upcoming YouTuber Rondi, be sure to check out Gnomestead's channel. I'm sure he is busy tonight. And Rob is saying to AFJ, all is good. Thank you for asking. Brooklyn says, yes, write them down in regards to the herbal remedies and keep all of your recipes in a binder or a notebook. I agree. Keep them organized. That's one thing for sure. I used to keep all of mine in a little recipe box, and the recipe box dropped one day, and I was in a hurry to get it cleaned up, and I just shoved them in wherever. And every time I'd look for a recipe, it was always like I was in a hurry to find it. And it was never organized in alphabetical order after that. So I spent the day one day sitting down and putting everything into a binder. So it had a place and it couldn't easily be disrupted like it was when I dropped that poor recipe box. But yes, that's a great suggestion, Brooklyn. Thank you. Ashley says, does anyone have an update on John? I do not myself, but if anybody else does, please. Let's see here. Rob actually put up an update here for John in Alaska. So John in Alaska is another channel here in Alaska. And he was not feeling quite himself. And so he was shutting down his internet for a couple of days and taking a step back from the computer, give his eyes a rest, and also going to pay a visit to his doctor. And Rob says he is doing better. He will be posting a video soon. Thank you for putting that up, Rob. I really appreciate that. And I'm sure Ashley does too. And AFJ says, good evening from Dixie to Dixieland. And Two Bear says, you can grow lemongrass too and put it in the stock tank to kill the skeeters. And it's good for your plants. And lemongrass is good to eat too. I love lemongrass. Lemongrass tea is one of my favorite things to drink. And Dixieland says, I was told the ferry isn't going to be running this summer. I'm not sure if it's true. My understanding of the ferry is I was told there are no cross Gulf sailings as well, but there is the sailings that are going from Bellingham, Washington up to Juneau. And then there is a ship that goes from Juneau to Valdez. My understanding is that that one is still running. I think that ship is the Aurora that runs between Juneau and Valdez. So you would have to switch ships, but it's still an option to get up here. But I would definitely check on the Alaska Marine Highway Systems webpage to find out for sure, or you can call them directly. They are quite friendly when you talk to them, and they'll help you work through all the logistics of getting your ship scheduled and making sure that everything is set to your specifications. But I would definitely check before trying to book one and find out that I'm incorrect, because I would hate to send you on a wild goose chase for nothing. And Pat says to sleep in your SUV. Yes, when I overlanded, I had the back of my Jeep set up as a camper, and I slept back there all the time. But with the being touristy down there and where I'm going to be going fishing. There isn't really, well, I was kind of afraid that the campgrounds would be full, is what I was really afraid of, and that I would be not able to get a place, if you will. I just watched a video by Nutty New, who is also another Alaskan here, and he just put out a video about fishing on the Russian River, and he was showing the traffic down there and the line just to get into the campground. I thought he was checking into a national park because it was quite hectic. I mean, the line was like long, full of cars just waiting to get in just to go fishing. So I just know that I'm probably better off staying in a Airbnb, but luckily I found one that was really inexpensive compared to what other people are charging, and I'm only staying there for 1 to 2 nights, so it's not that bad, thank goodness. uh Ashley is saying thanks to Rob, and Rob is saying yay. Yeah, our rates will not go through the roof when we start renting the other cabin. That's good. That's good. If you can keep them at a level, steady pace all year long, I think it's better for people. And also, I think people really appreciate it and are probably more likely to come stay with you again for sure. And Brooklyn says New York City prices. Yeah, I can imagine how expensive things are in New York City. It's got to be crazy. Ashley AFJ is saying, hello, good to see you. And Ashley is saying, thanks. Diana says, I used to give my rabbits papaya to help them digest fur balls. If you'll just be using the catchment water for your garden, put a couple of goldfish in the tank to eat the larvae. Yep, that's a good idea as well. I just don't know what to do with those. I guess I could bring the goldfish in during the winter months into the cabin. I was gonna say, I don't know what to do with them after that, because I definitely not releasing those goldfish into the ponds. So back in Colorado, there was a pond that someone had released a couple goldfish, obviously, into, and in a matter of the summer months, that entire pond was full of goldfish. They just multiplied and multiplied and multiplied, and they basically ate up all the ecosystem and basically destroyed the livelihood of that pond. So don't ever release fish into waters that they didn't come from originally, because it does mess things up. And Jim in Alaska is here with us tonight. Thank you, Jim. He says, I'm here, sold my RV today. Woo! More money to buy property with. We'll go on a drive next week looking at property. Well, I hope that your next property that you look at is the one that works out for you. And I'm really actually kind of surprised that you sold the RV, because I know you were, getting some use out of it over your last few videos, traveling along from Tok and Chicken and down to Chitna and what have you. So really surprised you sold it, but I'm glad that you're still on the hunt for that perfect piece of land, and I hope it really works out for you soon. Was never Nurse Ratchet says to Rob, our property runneth over with figs. 4 huge fig trees, have muscadine, pecans, pears, and lots of good things. Oh, that sounds fantastic. And I'm like Rob too. Like, the figs are fantastic, but I have to admit that pecans are one of the favorite nuts of mine. I like pecans, and I like filberts, or hazelnuts, if you will. Those are probably the 2 best, I think. And Diana says, Liberty, to Liberty, I need to try your bread pudding recipe. Sounds fabulous. I agree. I think it sounds very, very tasty. Liberty says, thanks. And Rob says, to Was Never Nurse Ratchet, I used to get pecans to candy, miss fresh ones from Georgia. My former mother-in-law made the best pecan pie I have ever eaten in my life, as well as the most amazing peach pie that I'd ever eaten. Yeah, just to die for. Absolutely the best. Raphael Molina, how are you doing tonight? Raphael says, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Thank you for being with us. Poor man says, hi, back at you, Dixie. And Dixie is saying hello to Raphael. And Pat says, can you repeat the bread pudding recipe? And it's right here for everybody. Easy bread pudding from old bread. A half a loaf of bread broken up, mixed with 2 eggs and a glass of milk with nutmeg and a 1/4 cup of sugar, baked at 250 degrees for 30 minutes. Is that 250 degrees Celsius, though? So you'd need to convert that to Fahrenheit if you're cooking it here in the States. But thank you for putting that back up. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure Pat does as well. So thank you, Liberty. Ashley says, I have a persimmon pudding. My trees are just about the age to bear fruit. Oh, persimmons. Oh, delicious. You guys are making me hungry. Oh, my goodness. And poor man saying hi to Dixieland. And there is Jim in Alaska's channel link. So be sure to pay Jim a visit and keep him company as he's driving around and trying to find that perfect property here in Alaska. And onto it also, he says, thanks to Rob. And Steve is back from his shower. He says, oh, that was wonderful. Alone, I had a feeling the email was going to be late. Funny, I could live stream, but Yahoo wouldn't go through. Yahoo, that might be the issue. And but I will be there on a future one. I promise you, Steve. I haven't forgotten about you. It's just summers are really hard. I think in the wintertime, you'll probably get tired of seeing me on your live streams. And poor man says, soapy water is good for grass and gardens. Yes, it is for sure. And it does kill off those little aphids and things that have a thin exoskeleton. Steve's woodworking and homestead's channel link is on the screen for everybody. So be sure to pay Steve a visit and tell him I sent you. Brooklyn says they're not teaching geography anymore. Everything is about the curriculum is pushing, testing, and practicing to compete or complete test on time. Yeah, it was that way when my kids were in school too. They had mandatory testing days. They got money from the state if they had every child in the seat and if they got certain test scores. But really, they weren't teaching the things that needed to be taught. In fact, some of the things my kids were coming home with from school, I was like, that's not correct. That's not true to facts and history and things like that. And I should have caught on early on that things were taking a downward slide in the public school system. Luckily, they had been homeschooled for a good number of years, so they knew better. But yeah, it was quite the different experience for sure. Christina says, Alone, have you ever cleaned a Alexa Pure water filter? I soaked mine in white vinegar and water overnight, then soaked in fresh water. Does it clean it? Do you know? The water tastes much better. I would believe that it would, but I'm not sure what the vinegar would do to the carbon filters. I don't have the Alexa Pure. I have a Berkey, and they're very similar. They're just Alexa happens to be less expensive than the Berkey is. Berkey's gotten a little highfalutin on their prices, I believe. I have not actually cleaned my filters. I've just replaced them. I know you probably can clean them. The way I've seen people clean their Berkey filters was with the green Scotch Brite scrub pads, and they would just scrub them wearing gloves because they say don't ever touch your carbon filters, and then rinsing them off with water. But I don't actually know beyond that, like if how to clean them. I should look it up, to be honest with you. So thank you for reminding me to do so, Christina. The filters I know do work for thousands of gallons. I think Berkey's filters claim that they will filter up to 3,000 gallons before needing to be replaced. As far as being cleaned, though, probably more often, but I don't exactly know. I just waited till they stopped filtering correctly, and then I would replace them. Shame on me, probably. And Liberty says public school. Yeah, public schools are not the place to be these days, I think. And poor man says, I don't eat at my friend's house anymore because he pees in a bucket of water and then waters his garden. I have seen people do that. There are some other people that have claimed to do that. And I would worry that if you're doing that all the time, you're going to be putting in too much nitrogen and you're going to have a lot of leaves on your plants, but you might not get any fruit or vegetables off of your garden because it's so much nitrogen in there. And I don't blame you for that either. That would kind of gross me out. And Rob says, put the bath water onto the roots, not the leaves. Yeah, that's what I did. Definitely. I watered around everything. But since I have seeds in there right now, it's kind of hard to do that with some of them. So as the summer goes on, though, I think I'll just filter it through something before putting it in the garden either way, or put it on trees. Once I get the orchard put in, which I would like to do, get some cold hardy fruit trees on my property, then I'll just water the trees with the bath water and not the vegetables themselves. And hello, Original Six. How are you doing tonight? Original Six says hello, alone, and everyone. So glad you could be with us, Tiff. And Antonasi says, yes, I missed Rob's last live. Work internet wouldn't let me on again. Oh, that's not good. But hopefully you can go back and watch the replay if nothing else. And Ashley is also saying hello to Original Six. And Daisy and Ed's Alaskan Adventure says, can you tell us some of your lucid dreams? Well, like I said, the one I had when I took a nap earlier it was quite interesting. There was more to it than having the razor blades in my hand. I was actually someplace here in Alaska. I don't know where I was. Maybe I was at the YouTuber Rondi that's coming up. But there was some children running around. There was a lady that was doing something at a table. I don't know what she was doing. The children had asked if I could teach them how to shoot a gun. Here I am going being Annie Oakley again. They asked if I could teach them how to shoot again. And so I said, yeah, let me go get my 22. The lady at the table said, that would be great. Thank you for doing that. And I went in to get the 22. And as I was picking it up, I had found some razor blades that were on the floor. I picked those up in my hand and was thinking, how did these get here? Why did somebody knock all these over? And why am I having such a hard time picking these up? Went back out to the table. And as I was loading the gun, I was looking down and there was like a marshy area of water. And there happened to be a big fish coming over in the water. I could see it like pulling some weeds through the water. And I said something to the lady at the table, and she told me that it was a cod, a silver cod. And I was just, that's when I woke up, and I was sitting there thinking, that's weird. That was a very weird dream. Like I could feel the razor blades in my hands. I could feel me trying to pick them up off the floor. I could feel the gun in my hand. I could hear the fish as it was coming through the water. It was a very weird dream. So that's one of the most recent lucid dreams. But I've definitely had others here for sure. In fact, to be honest with you, I have dreamt every single night since living in Alaska. We're back in Colorado. I had dreams, of course, but I didn't quite remember them the way I do here, or didn't quite dream as often, it seemed, as I do here. But every single night I have dreams, and they are bizarre. They're not bad. I'm not having nightmares by any means, but I definitely have some pretty crazy dreams. So thank you for asking that, Daisy. I appreciate it. Liberty says, what does he use as fertilizers? Possibly manure? Ooh. Be careful too. That's another warning I have for people regarding putting manure, cow manure, or horse manure that you pick up from the local garden center onto your crops, because a lot of times the farmers are spraying their fields with herbicides to keep weeds at bay, and that might hurt your crops as well. So I don't put manure in my garden. But if you're going to use manure, my recommendation is to use things like rabbit manure, but be careful of rabbit urine if you have rabbits and you're collecting it, because rabbit urine has been known to have the bacteria in it that causes encephalitis, which is an infection of the brain, a swelling of the brain. So it is safe to put on your crops, but again, at the roots only. You don't want to put it on the leaves of your vegetables. And also, if you're going to put the rabbit manure in there, you don't have to let it age for a year or so. You can put it on directly. It's not a hot manure. It's a green manure. So just a couple of recommendations there. And Rob is saying, no worries to Antodasi. I know you would have been there, to the YouTuber Rondi, that is. Steve says, bathwater, you don't want toenail fungus on your broccoli. Yeah, that'd be gross too. That'd be worse. And Original Six is saying hi to Rob and Ashley. Steve is saying to Rob over at Convention Inn, hey there, and thank you. And there is Alaska Cut the Cords channel link. So again, pay Adam and Phyllis a hello from me, if you would, a visit. And Mary Beth Tanner, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate you joining us in the chat tonight. Christina says, no, don't have to switch in ceiling center above the mirror. Don't have to switch in ceiling center above the mirror. I didn't follow that one, Christina. Apologies. I'm sure it's reference to something that said earlier, but I'm not registering it. And Original Six is saying hi to Dixieland. And Liberty says, are doTERRA good? Yes, doTERRA does have good quality oils. Their oils are good quality for sure. I don't know what their pricing is compared to if you were to buy direct from a supplier or someone who sells in larger quantities, but I do know that their oils are of good quality for sure. And Rob says, alone, I used to use Young Living, but the prices are too high. Yes, that is for sure. Their prices have gone sky high. I wish I could remember the name of the biggest wholesaler. There's two of them, actually. One of them, their prices are really, really reasonable. And they ship direct out of India. They're an importer direct out of India. I'll put it in my next video. I will. I'll get it for everybody because, if you have a wholesale account, then you're going to get better pricing. But they might have a direct sell also to the retail public. But I'll find out for everybody and include that for people because I think it's important to use and to know what you're using as well and where it comes from. And they do provide certificates of authenticity. So that is also helpful. So you know where your oils came from and that they've been tested and everything. And Dixieland says, Pippin Rock also have oils on sale a lot. I've not heard of Pippin Rock or Pipin Rock, but I'll look into that one for sure. Thanks for putting that up, Dixie. And Joni says, Alone, are you talking about Azure Standard? No, Azure Standard is the grocery store that you can buy your groceries from directly. I'm talking about a wholesale distributor of essential oils that I have used in the past. And for whatever reason, it is just escaping my brain tonight. But Azure Standard, I understand, is really good too. I have not done an Azure Standard delivery run, but there's another channel here in Alaska, Hermits. What is Hermits? I just had his thing up here. See if I can find him. Hermit's Hideaway. It's not Hermit's Hideaway. It's Hermit in Alaska. Something. He has 3 words in it, and I know I'm missing the 3rd word. But he does an Azure Standard, as well does Modern Homestead Alaska. I believe she does Azure Standards as well. So, and Christina says, sorry, guys. Oops. I wondered about that comment, Christina. So no worries. Thank you, though. And MSNBC, thank you for being here. And they say Thrive Market has clean oils as well. There you go. And Thrive is a good one as well. And Thrive does do shipping door to door also. So that's a good place to go. Thank you for that. And Matt, and thank you for being in the chat again tonight. Glad to see you again. And Matt says, Young Living, maybe they're big here. Yep. As Rob said, yes, Young Living, but unfortunately their prices have gone sky high. I still keep trying to picture the logo of the company I'm thinking of, and it is not coming to mind. And Rob says to Liberty, yes, that was the name I could not remember. And MSBC says, Young Living. Sorry, that's it. Yep. And AFJ says, Alone, thank you for showing that book. I hope to add it to my vintage Alaska library. You are so welcome. When I picked it up off the dining room table, I was like, oh, I told him the wrong name. So I'm glad that I was able to catch you on here tonight and give you the correct name. And Rob is saying to Matt, yay. Yeah, that is who I used to use for years ago. They testing on the oils and certified them. Yeah. And you do want to make sure that your oils are certified, that they've been tested and that that they're fresh as well, because they do have a certain shelf life. A lot of times they won't have an expiration date on the oils, but best guess or best use is 2 years is pretty standard on essential oils before they start to go rancid. But if ever you're in doubt, 6 months after opening is always recommended as your base. So just make sure that if you open something, and especially if you've touched it with your bare hands, like the tip of the bottle or a dropper or something like that, make sure that you do dispose of it within about 6 months, because bacteria will build up in some of those oils. Some of them, of course, are antifungal and antibacterial, but some are not, unfortunately. And Matt is saying to MSNBC, and Rob over the Convention Inn. I drive by their big new headquarter building every day. Now you know why their prices went up. Brooklyn says there are so many essential oils, multi-level marketing schemes. I don't know who to believe in with those. Yeah, that's why I was saying about doTERRA. They do have good oils, but as I said, they work on a representative basis like Avon or Mary Kay. And Mary Beth says yes on the book. Well, I will definitely keep it in mind. Thank you for that, Mary Beth. And Curmudgeon is saying to Matt, they are just a pain in the you know what to deal with. My ex was a doctor of Asian medicine, and we had a wholesale account with them for her practice and for my tea and herb spice shop. Just too expensive at times. Yes, I believe it. And Carrie Ann says, I'm excited to get your book. You're so full of knowledge, and I do learn a lot from you. Well, thank you, Carrie Ann. I appreciate that. Now you guys are making me feel like I need to sit down and get that book produced. Oh my goodness. The pressure is on. Onto it, Aussie says, I just got a heap of medicinal herb seeds to grow next season, and I'm looking into getting a still to make my own essential oils. That is what I was just going to say too, is that there's also the possibility of growing your own and being able to extract those oils yourself through distillation. So let us know how it works for you, because I would love to be able to do it myself. I've watched other channels do it, and they've had great success. So hopefully you have just as good of success doing it also. And then you know for sure that the oils you're getting are fresh. And Matt says to Rob, I can believe it. And Steve's Woodworking says, I love the dress or blouse. You look all scrubbed up and ready for the dance. Well, thanks. I feel this dress is so comfy. I actually feel like I'm underdressed for the occasion. I feel like I'm sitting here in sweatpants. And there is John in Alaska's channel link. So be sure to pay John a visit and wish him well if you do. And Iris says, sometimes I worry I will be eating a tomato in my garden and someone from the government will pop up and stop me, telling me that I can't eat it until I pay the tax on it. Wouldn't surprise me if they did that with the air you breathe too, to be honest. But yes, I know the feeling for sure. Pat says, yes, that's true. I lived in Kenai, but it was never like it is now. Yes, it is quite busy down there. Luckily, the last time I went down, it was right before like the main fishing season and it opened up. And so it wasn't quite that busy. But the videos I'm seeing of what it's been this week down there is really hectic, really crazy. Ira Rob is saying, right? I do not tell many about what I grow. Lol. Yes, there are too many laws that are being put up about what you can grow, not what you can grow, but where you can grow it. Like some cities have ordinances, you can't have a vegetable garden in your front yard. And some cities have it to where you can't even share your goods with your neighbors. And I don't understand that one at all. That's just doesn't make common sense to me. I know there's logic or reasoning behind it that makes sense to some, but to me, it's just like, oh, it's good-heartedness to share with others and to provide for those in your community and share alike, on when and where you can. But to say you can't is bad. And Dixieland says, thank you, Annie. You are so welcome, Dixieland. I appreciate it. Two Bears says, I was told they can't find enough workers to run all of the state ferries. No ferries beyond Valdez is what I was told. So there you go. So that means that there is the ferry going from Juneau to Valdez, but no ferries from Valdez or Juneau to Whittier or any of the chain that is running further west of Valdez. Thank you for that, Two Bears. That's good information. And happy Father's Day, fellas, says Steve over at Steve's Woodworking in Homestead. Yes, I agree. Happy Father's Day, everyone. And I hope you guys had a wonderful day and got to spend it with your children. And if not, hopefully you got to spend it doing the things you wanted to do. And Matt says, yeah, it was crazy in Cooper Landing last week. Tons of cars and fishermen everywhere. Are they still doing the construction on the road down there, Matt? Did you get stuck in all of that? Because when I went down, I definitely got stuck in the construction for sure. I sat there for about an hour at two different locations waiting for them to open up the road right around Cooper's Landing. But Cooper's Landing is definitely a cute little area for sure. And Rob is saying thank you to Steve for his well wishes of a happy Father's Day. Pat says, have you thought about making one of your other buildings into a vacation rental by owner? I would book it. I gave it about a mere second's worth of thought, only because of the fact that I did come out here to be alone. And I really don't want to open my property up to other people. I have thought, though, about if I ever was able to afford to do so. This is kind of a pipe dream, I think, more than it is something that would ever come into fruition. But who knows? If ever I was able to afford to buy another piece of property that had a small cabin on it, I would love to turn that into a vacation rental by owner. Because as I've mentioned on my live streams before, I think that if you're going to come to visit Alaska, in my experience, I think it would be fantastic to have the opportunity to come in and stay in the heart of Alaska, in the interior of Alaska, and get to explore Alaska and the people of Alaska, the sites of the interior, as well as have the opportunity to go down to see the shoreline and the coast and what have you. But I think that would be better suited for me to have somebody off of my property where they could have some privacy and some seclusion. I know that was one of the things that I was looking for when I was looking at renting a place for Kenai and I is it in the middle of the city? Is it in the middle of a neighborhood? You know, are there going to be a lot of traffic going by? Where is it situated? So I think that would be a better idea for me at least. And hopefully anybody that would want to come stay in it. But if ever I do that, I'll let you guys know for sure. And Rob says, yeah, some people let lionfish go in Florida and now they are taking over the reefs. Oh my goodness. No natural predators, so nothing really to grab them and eat them. We would spare 10 to 20 a day. Yikes. That's a lot of fish. And yeah, that's exactly what happens when you it's like people that let the northern pike go into rivers and lakes that they're not normally found in. And then they just wind up eating up all of the other smaller fish. And also same thing with rainbow trout and brook trout. They'll do the same thing. They'll eat up the eggs of the other fish, and they're destructive in some ways if they're not, natural to that area. So Ira says, alone, live in the heart. She says, I live in the heart of pecan country here in South Georgia. 5 towering trees by my home here. You are on my pecan gift mailing list when they ripen in October. Well, thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it. I had family down in Oklahoma, and they had pecan trees, and they would send up, bags and bags full of pecans every year. And I just absolutely felt blessed to be able to get those. So thank you for that, Ira. Really appreciate it. Diana says, cook up the goldfish and feed it to Kenai. I don't know if I could do it. Oh my goodness. Poor little fishies. Rob says, I will find my candied pecan video I made years back for my old channel and repost it. That would be fantastic. Thank you for doing that. I actually have a jar here of empty pralines. I really struggle holding things on camera. There we go. Praline pecans. And you can see there's like hardly anything left in it. Just this little bit of hard crumbs. But that's when I say I've been eating candy. That's one of the things I've been eating. And Sherry, thank you for being here tonight. Sherry says, Alone, you did a great job on your garden. Look like hard work. Well, thank you, Sherry. I appreciate it. It was definitely time consuming for sure. And I'm so glad that it got done because I feel really good about having the garden in. And I appreciate you being here with us also. Brooklyn says, keeping aquarium water warm for goldfish inside in Alaska during the winter sounds like a pain in the what. An avid aquarium hobbyist. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was thinking about last Christmas when my cabin froze. I was thinking I'd come out to an ice block with 2 fish suspended in the ice block. I'm not sure if I'm up to that or not. So yeah, probably not. And Charles says, good night, Alone. My apologies, but I don't know your name. It is Alone or Annie or whatever you want to call me. I'll answer just about anything. Good night, everyone. I have to get up and drive this big rig at 4 in the morning. I will listen to, not watch the replay in the morning. Well, thank you, Charles, and drive safe on your next venture. And I hope to see you on the next live stream. Thank you again for hanging out with us tonight, though. And Rob says, we will not be doing a live this week as we will most likely have guests up this weekend, please check out our videos, and there is the channel link to his videos. So thank you for that, Rob. Thanks for letting me know. And I hope that you and your guests have a lot of fun this weekend as well. Rob says, we picked up a water filtration setups for both the house and the guest cabins. Will filter down to 0.5 micron. That's fantastic. Let us know. You should do a video on it and let everybody know what you picked up and how it works out for you. And Onto It Aussie says, been watching. Fantastic. I'm sure Rob appreciates that. Liberty says, dream possibly because you're not near towers. Possibly. I think that has a lot to do with it too, is that I don't have as much electrical interference here as I did back in the city. Back in the city, you couldn't escape the towers for sure, and street lights and everything else that were shining right in your window. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. And Lynn Smith says, hey girl. Hey Lynn, so glad you could join us again tonight. Glad to see you. Steve's Woodworking says, your dreams sound just like the dreams that I have been having. I blame it on having so much to do, getting prepared to move. Probably your mind has probably got a million things going on right now that it's all trying to sort out and everything. Again, there's Steve's channel link for everybody as well, so you can check out his new homestead that he's getting set up also. And Brooklyn says, was this dream after we talked about fried cod sandwiches? No, I don't think so, but oh my goodness. And Liberty says, Melakusha oil. Melakusha oil. I'm not familiar with that oil. I'll have to look it up for sure. That's an oil that is new to me. And Byron Piles is here tonight. Hello, Byron. And Byron says, hello, Annie, or hello alone. Looking forward to the cooking and landscaping videos. Well, thank you very much for that. I will get some out to you right away. I actually have told myself that I need to sit down this week and edit so I can get you guys out not only this week's video, but also the cooking videos that I'm behind on. And Connie says, hi, Alone. Do you think that Now essential oils is okay? Yeah, I mean, I know Now is a good popular brand, but I've never really used their oils. I would assume that they're good because they're going to buy from the big distributors that I'm trying to think of. I really wish I could remember what the name of these two companies are. I'll have to go back through my notes and see if I can find them. But Now would be a good company, but I've never used them, so I can't vouch for them. But I know that they're a bigger company, so they're going to have quality standards that they have to live up to as well. And by the way, thank you for being with us tonight, Connie. I appreciate it as well. And Steve's Woodworking says, they are like super busy dreams. Yeah, like I said, your mind is probably racing, trying to figure everything out. Matt says, I used to live right next to the doTERRA building here in Utah. There was another health multi-level marketing also down the street. I was getting healthier by osmosis just by living there. That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. Joni says, Azure is really good and they carry essential oils as well as other products. Yep. Thank you for posting that, Joni. I appreciate it. And Jeff in Ohio is here. Thank you, Jeff, for being here tonight. I really appreciate seeing you in the chat again. Jeff says, just saying, hey, can't stick around long. Some of us work evening hours. Yep. And speaking of those of you who work evening hours and maybe you're just popping in here towards the end of this, or also just have a moment to pop in and say hi. That's why I also host the one on Saturday nights late. It is at 11 o'clock my time here in Alaska. It is once a month and it's not a set schedule, but also you can watch the videos on replay if you can't hang out with us during the live. So if you ever want to rewatch them on replay, I do recommend watching them at double speed though. You can still hear everything I'm saying, but it is actually a lot of fun when you watch it at double speed. I think it's actually funner than probably watching me now. And Liberty says osmosis is free. That is true. Just walk by and get it through. Just absorb all that oil in the air, if nothing else. Two Bear says, have you dreamed about me yet? It'll most likely be you chasing me in the cabin with a broom or me running up the driveway with you throwing blocks of firewood at me. Oh my goodness, Two Bears, you are too funny. Donna says, alone with doTERRA, you can become a seller member and buy the oils cheaper. I've used doTERRA for years. Shipping to Donna, your message cut off there, but I'm sure you meant shipping direct to door. Yes. So that is a good thing to know too. Yeah, I was going to say that the fact that it works like, um, Avon or Mary Kay or any of those, that yes, you can also become a selling member and then buy them at a cheaper rate for yourself as well. So thank you for that. And Dixieland is saying hi to Jeff. And our bucket list has Hall says, I do the doTERRA also. Good to know. Good to know. And was never a nurse ratchet said Young Living is multi-level marketing also. Oh, that's good to know. I did not know that. And also says that now has some good essential oils. Well, thank you for letting everybody know that also. And doTERRA started up after breaking away from Young Living due to some Young Living unethical practices. Sad. Yes, that is sad to hear. But also, I appreciate you sharing that information with everybody. And hi, Linda. How are you doing tonight? Linda Swatsky is in the house, and she says, I use Face and Try essential oils. Oh, that's good to know. I've never heard of Face and Try either. So thank you, Linda, and thanks for joining us again tonight. I hope you're doing well, my friend. And Rob says, Antoradasi, you can find a hydrosol still pretty cheap, and if you pay attention, they come out good. There you go. Thank you for that. Ira says, good point, Rob, over the curmudgeon. And Aussie says, thanks to Rob. And Brooklyn is laughing at Two Bears and his funny comment. Donna says, not being able to share your produce sounds like more control. I agree. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And Liberty says, imagine in 1950 telling people that they could not share, right? That's what I think even still in this day, that you can't go to your neighbor's house with a plate of veggies, or that you can't put out, help yourself on your lawn to your excess zucchini or tomato harvest or whatever it is that you might have plenty of. I used to tell my neighbors in Colorado all the time, like, if you want to come cut down some hydrangeas for your vase, or you want to pick some chives or garlic scapes out of the garden, because I grew the chives and the garlic just for the fact that they would keep other harmful insects out of the garden. I was like, come get them, take as many as you want. I don't care. It's like, it's not going to hurt my garden for you to get some, and it's going to help you in the long run. So yeah, I think the world's gone crazy, but I'm going off on a soapbox. So I digress. Dixieland says, Annie, have you seen the videos that are out about the off-spray helicopters and tanks in the city and all? I saw a thumbnail for it, but I didn't watch the video. And I was wondering if anybody knew what was going on and what is happening. I'm not sure where they said that the tanks and the helicopters are located, but it's here in America, is my understanding, that they are coming in. So I'm not sure what's happening, but it's not a good sign if they're roaming city streets as opposed to just traveling down the highways to base. So very curious about that. I might have to go back and actually watch the video where I saw the thumbnail. Clint says, at what age does the old enough to know better supposed to start? I don't know. I don't think I've hit it yet for sure. Steve's Woodworking says, it's getting bad when the subject of registering your garden is being discussed with the government. And that it is. They definitely have put out that legislation that they're discussing and possibly going to vote on. I think it's ridiculous, though, for sure. And Diana says, I make my own oils and tinctures with fresh herbs. So easy if you have a rainy or snowy day to spend playing with plants and alcohol and oil. That's awesome. Diana, you should start a channel. You have such an interesting life and so many things going on that you should start a channel. You would be a lot of fun to watch with everything that you do. And Rob over says to Steve, yeah, I know a few places that are doing that. It's just stupid. And Steve says, disgusting. And it's control. Yes, sorry about the outburst. Please. That's hardly anything compared to the things that we're all thinking in our head, for sure. Diana says to Steve, I don't register anything except my cars. Nobody needs to know what dogs, guns, or plants I have. I agree. But I was thinking about the whole gun thing. I was like, the government has it already, because you're doing your NICS checks when you buy a gun. So they already have everything that whether they're legally supposed to keep it or not, they have it in some database, and it's unfortunate. And we're all foolish if we think that they don't. But Rob agrees and says exactly. And Dixieland also agrees. And Steve says, awesome. And Clint says, it's pronounced pecan, not pecan. Or is it the other way? It's pecan and not pecan. It's called yummy. That's how it's pronounced. Can I have those yummy things over there? Brooklyn says, I saw an ad for a copper one to make essential oils, and I think it was for around $1,200. That sounds about fair, actually, for a still. And I would think that you would want it to be copper if you're going to do it. And onto it, Aussie says, 4 hours of daylight left. Best go to repair my chook house roof. Thanks alone for another great live. Thanks, Rob, at the Curmudgeon Inn, and take care, everyone. Well, thank you, Onto it, Aussie, for being here. And everyone, be sure to go over and check out Onto it, Aussie's channel and see what they're up to these days. And Steve is laughing at Clint. Ira says, yum, Rob, for the candied pecan post. And Rob is saying to Anton Aussie, have a good one, my friend. See you soon. And they are also saying good night. Dixieland is. And Ashley and Dixieland is also saying good night to Charles O'Neill. And Clint says, or Diana says to Clint, pecan. Yes, I know. I probably say it incorrectly for sure. One of those things that you learn saying it one way, and then it's hard to correct yourself to say it the other way. Rob is saying to Brooklyn, I was a saltwater reef guy for many years. And Alaska Cut the Cord said, that is more of a reason to do the live, Rob. There you go. And Ashley agrees. And hello, Bobby Geronimo. How you doing tonight? Bobby says, if you build it, I would rent it. We didn't get any snow in New York City this year, so my snowmobiles collected some dust. Wow, no snow. That's crazy. I can't even imagine. Yikes. But yeah, Bobby, if ever I do, I will let you guys know for sure. And I also want to say thank you for being here with us tonight. And Rob says, need to discuss with the guest. That this is true, need to discuss with the guest about doing the video. And Brooklyn says, I lost my reef tank thanks to con artist Edison power outage. Ugh. That's sad because all your poor fish. Oh my goodness. I never even thought about that. Fish and reptiles and things like that are reliant upon heat lamps and water filtration and things like that. That's sad. And there is Alaska's Cuts a Cord channel link. So thank you, Rob, for putting that up. Much appreciated. Matt says, haha, my uncle runs a Melacula plant, and hearing Alone try to pronounce it was hilarious. Yeah, I have no idea what it is. Someone needs to put the pronunciation up on that one too in phonetic so that I know how it's said. I'm so bad with pronunciation. And Clint says to no Pukan. Oh my goodness. Was never Nurse Ratched said, up early at 4, only need 4 hours sleep since forever and always up between 3 and 4. So good night to y'all. Stay safe and vigilant. By the way, Melacula oil is tea tree oil. Well, there you go. I was like, what the heck is that? Thank you, was never Nurse Ratched, for putting up the true common name of it. I appreciate that. And I hope you have a good night's sleep too. And Liberty says, the tea tree oil is used for many purposes. Very useful. Yes, I do have tea tree oil here at the property too. And I have used it for a lot of things over the years. Diana says, my husband released a tiny koi into the retention pond behind our house about 12 years ago. It's now about 2.5 feet long and weighs about 25 pounds. Funny thing is, nobody but us knows it's in there. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Be careful what you say online, though, because I will tell you that the game wardens do watch YouTube to find people doing crazy things. So be careful there. Donna Heaton says, now, NOW, the company, is not for use like essential oils. Well, there you go. And that's the other thing to check, is to make sure that they're safe for topical use or for internal use, like the mouthwash that I make and things like that. You got to do your research for sure. And Steve's actually in shock about the fish too, Diana. That's crazy. I'm glad the fish survived, though, for sure. And Rob says the issue with some oils is that they are not meant to be used topical or internally, just as I said. So thank you for that, Rob. You need to be sure that they are the right grade. That is correct, for sure. And Diana says no other koi for it to breed with and no access to any other waterways. We just released a young snapping turtle we rescued back there a couple of weeks ago. It's like our private pond. When I was dating my ex-husband, I wanted to go fishing so bad. And I begged and begged and begged and begged for him to take me fishing. And finally, he decided that, okay, you want to go fishing? I'm tired of listening to you beg. Go get the fishing stuff and let's go. So we did. And he took me to a little retention pond, kind of like what Diana's talking about. And it was late in the summer, early fall, and the weeds were taller than he was. And he's a giant of a guy, like well over 6 feet tall. And the weeds were taller than him, and the water was clear up into the weeds. And the sun was just about setting, and we walked out into that pond. And, I cast my line out there, and I caught a bluegill, and just as the sun was setting, and I couldn't see to get it off the line. It was horrible. I was like, here I am getting pricked by this spiny fish. But the other thing is, as the sun was setting and we got the fish off the line, there was something walking in the weeds, probably a raccoon or a stray cat or something like that, a fox maybe. But I was so freaked out, and I was so mad at him for taking me to a retention pond to go fishing. That is not exactly what I had in mind. But it was at that moment that I realized, wait, I can take myself fishing. I don't need you to take me fishing. Why am I begging you to take me fishing? I can do this on my own. So I actually have to thank him for that, for making me realize that, hey, I don't need to wait for you to do something. I'm capable. Oh my goodness. I'm such a dork. Ashley said, Diana, everyone here knows your secret now. Wink, wink. And anybody who watches it on the replay. And Steve's Woodworking says, oh my God, I just noticed. Sorry, you have a little color to your skin. Yeah, that's from doing all that yard work out there. I got a little hot-winded. Not hot-winded. I got a little heat rash going on, a little sunburn, but it's not too bad, actually. I did have my sunscreen on, so luckily I don't have any massive breakouts on the face from the sun this time around. And Alaska Cut the Cord says, oh, I bet they'd like it just fine, talking about the guests that Rob will be having up at their property. And Weed Eater says, hi, Alone and Kenai. Greetings to y'all and other folks. Thanks for being here tonight, Weed Eater. I hope you're doing well, and curious about your next set of travels that you'll be making. But I'm glad you're joining us. And Diana says to Ashley, good luck finding it. And Two Bears says, I almost got Annie to blush next time. Maybe that's why Steve's saying I have some color in my face. And Weed Eater is saying hey to Curmudgeon, who also just said hello to him, and good evening to you too. And Steve is saying good job, Two Bears. So obviously you did get me to blush there. And Donna says double speed is like watching old silent movies, lol. Oh my goodness. Liberty Can says summer exercise, National Guard. Oh, okay. So it's nothing major. That's good. That is good. Thank you, Liberty, for putting that up about the tanks and the Osprey helicopters that are here in some of the cities in America. So thank you for that. Diana says, Greta and Ruger send face licks. Tell Kenai they said hi. I definitely will. He sends a little paw back in the, he's good for pawing people in the face. So he's looking at me out through the tops of his eyes right now, like, what are you talking about? Dixieland says they ain't us. They want us to believe that Liberty can, but they don't do that kind of thing. Kind of unsettling. Yes, I agree. That is one thing that I was wondering. So I'm going to go watch the video itself and see exactly what is going on. But if it was a training exercise, that would be good. But yeah, it makes you curious about what they are actually doing. Was never Nurse Ratchet said, heard about the tanks and everything. I think it was in Philadelphia. If you look at the street signs are not in English. I didn't see it myself, but heard from someone that's a trusted resource. Well, if I see it, I'll let everybody know on the next live stream what I find out for sure. But thank you for that, Nurse Ratched. And says lots of CGI computer generated images. That is true. You have to be very careful with what you're looking at these days. News footage of Ukraine somewhere from old war movies. Can't trust anyone. I agree with that completely. It's like you can tell the computer generated images if you look closely, because they might have like extra fingers on the hand, or the sleeve of the outfit is not attached, it's kind of like floating in space, or the collar floating above. The face, the expressions are kind of weird. Things just don't quite, it's like a surreal dolly type painting is how the AI generated images appear. So, but nonetheless, it's crazy what you see out there anymore. Donna says, where I live, we can't catch rainwater for your gardens, etc. It was that way in Colorado as well, up until like a few years ago. And then they switched the law and allowed you to do a rain catchment. But I think it was limited to the amount of water that you were allowed to harvest. And Rob says, that's not good. I agree. Absolutely. And Steve even says, sorry for that. And Bill says, I forgot you were live tonight. No worries, Bill. I have the hardest time making it to your live streams as well, because they fall on the day that I'm typically editing my video. So you are in good company. I completely understand. No hard feelings whatsoever. I appreciate you being here when you can, for sure, though. And I'm glad you're here with us, even if it is just at the last few minutes. Liberty says, tanks were here in Idaho, just down the street. Oh, my goodness. And Bill says hi to Rob. And Linda says, no one can find my garden this year. I have been green stalks in my kitchen and dining room. That's good. Keep it under cover for sure. Don't let anyone come and take it away from you. Ashley says, Bill, about time you showed up. And Mike G says, cheers from BC. Hey, Mike, how you doing tonight? So glad to see you in the chat again. And Rob is saying to Bill, hello. And Bill says to Ashley, I was out getting my excavator loaded up to take it for its 50-hour checkup. Wow, that's going to be quite the adventure. Hopefully it fares well after all the things you put it through here on your new property. Weed Eater says, good evening, Alaska, Last Frontier Homestead. And Pat says, depends upon what part of the country you come from as far as how to say pecans or pecans. Yeah, it's definitely a dialect thing, I think, for sure. And Matt says Melakusha is Melaleuca. Oh, Melaleuca. Now I'm rolling my eyes at myself. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's too funny. I skipped over Ashley's reply there saying, I lost my garden in a boating accident. Yeah, that's what it's going to become. Like, oh, I lost that, and I lost that, and I lost that. I had a lot of boating accidents this year. I'm so clumsy. Sorry, government official. And even Linda's telling me how to say it. Melaleuca. Melaleuca. Oh, my goodness. My pronunciations are so bad. And Rob says, okay, the live is back on for Friday night with special guests. Yay. That's fantastic. I think I know who those special guests are. So I will definitely be there. It's one of those be there or be square. So there's the link for everybody. Be sure to check out Rob's live stream with special guests. And I'm sure you will have a great time over there on Friday night at 5 o'clock. And Weed Eater or Bill is saying hello back to you. And even Donna's giving me the proper pronunciation. That's funny. Steve's Woodworking says, in New Orleans, they say pecan. Oh my goodness, I go with pronunciation things again. And Pat says, don't apologize. I'll try not to. Dixieland is happy to hear that the live stream is back on for Rob's on Friday night. And Two Bear says, I live right next to Fort Drum. I see all kinds of military equipment every day and known when something big is about to happen somewhere in the world. Yeah, having family members in the military or friends in the military, also you sometimes get the inside scoop when they're able to let you know things. But sometimes they are so tight-lipped that either they don't know themselves or they just can't talk about it. So seeing the activity, though, definitely gives you some inside knowledge. Ashley says, Bill, I know it's build season, lots to get done. That is true. It is so busy in the summertime up here in Alaska. I've, for years watching other Alaskan channels had heard that, but it is definitely true. Your summers are so short here. And after being cooped up all winter, you're just itching to get things done for sure. Liberty says, are you making any hard candy? I myself am not making any hard candy. Even eating these praline pecans was I like them, but I'm not much of a hard candy person. I like the flavor more than I like the chew of them. I do like soft candy though. So just a standard caramel, is my all-time go-to. So hard candy, I'm probably not ever going to make. I do have the candy thermometers and everything so that I could do so, but I probably won't ever actually make any. Maybe because I do like ribbon candy. If I could figure out how to do that, I would do it. But I think I like ribbon candy just because it's pretty more than it is good to eat. And Bill says to Two Bears, I've been to Fort Drum a few times. And there is Bill's channel link for everybody over at Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead. Be sure to check him out and tell him that Alone sent you. Pat says, Two Bears, what's going on? We all want to know. Alaska's Last Frontier says to Ashley, it's supposed to be raining for the next week. I wanted to get the trailer hooked up and the excavator loaded since this was the first time doing it. Yes, better safe than sorry. Do best to do it in dry weather for sure. Was never Nurse Ratchet said, they know where I live. No fear. Okay, really. Good night. Good night, Nurse. I hope you have a wonderful evening and thanks again for being here. Very much appreciated. Clint said, I seen a report earlier that they said there is military movement in 27 states. Kind of strange, I think. That is very strange. It definitely is cause for concern. That's odd. That's very odd. Ashley says, gotcha, Bill. And Dixieland is confirming what Clint said. And Liberty says 27 states is interesting. Alaska's Last Frontier says to Clint, maybe it's a military coup. Well, I highly doubt it, but it'd be nice if it was a military coup to take out the current and bring in a legitimate president. Oh, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. Two Bears says, remember when the North Korea leader was playing with his missile? Sorry, I have to switch my seating position here. I'm getting a cramp in my leg. Two Bears says, remember when the North Korea leader was playing with his missiles? Good thing he calmed down. We had a big surprise for him. The locals here called it the 3 knocks. Yep. And Brooklyn says to Clint, don't tell me that when my daughter is about to leave for boot camp. Yeah, unfortunately, there's always something militarily going on. And I think a lot of times, we don't even have all the details of what's happening around the world and what our troops are actually doing or up to. So I hope your daughter will be safe nonetheless, though, Brooklyn, for sure. And hopefully she never actually sees battle. Liberty says, have you built any homemade guns? I myself have not. I don't know that I trust my ability to build it in a way where I won't get injured. Should there be a malfunction. Even when you buy a gun that's been manufactured, from a gun producer, they jam. You have to run several hundred rounds through that gun to break in those springs and the triggers and everything like that. So I think if I was going to make a homemade gun, I would be afraid. Not the homemade guns that I've seen. No, I'm not talking about the 3D printed guns, but like the pipe type guns. You just get a big heavy steel pipe and you put in some trigger things on the back, you load it with a shotgun shell and it shoots kind of like a slingshot type thing. I've seen those explode on people and I think that's what I would be afraid to do. And I don't have a 3D printer, so I wouldn't be 3D printing anything. And to buy gun parts and assemble guns myself, that I could do, but I don't have any interest in it. I would rather buy a gun assembled and know what I'm getting and make sure that it's all done correctly. I am able to take my guns apart and reassemble them though when need be. That I have done. So And Connie says, good night and sleep tight alone and all. You too, Connie. Thank you for being here with me tonight. And it is just now about halfway on the hour of 7:30. And so I'm going to wrap this up here tonight. But I do want to thank everybody who was here in the chat with me tonight. And I want to put a special thanks out there to Rob for moderating the chat and putting up everybody's channel links. And I also want to say thank you to each and every one of you for being here. And not only those of you that are here every week over week, but I also want to say thank you to those of you who are new in the chat and new to my live streams. It's very much appreciated. And I know, Nurse Ratchet, you already signed off for the night, but I do want to say thank you again for the super chat. It was very, very kind of you to do so. But with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and go down the list and say goodnight to everyone. So good night, Ashley. Thank you for being here. And Liberty, I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate you joining the chat. This is the first time I've seen your name come up in the chat. So welcome, welcome. And Two Bears, you're always welcome in the chat. You know that for sure. And also Steve's Woodworking. I hope to be on one of your live streams here coming up soon. But like I said, it is summer. So it's really, really hard to settle down, especially when it's light out basically all day long, 24 hours a day. And Ira, thank you for being here. You and your mom have a wonderful weekend. And I hope you enjoyed your dinner. And Alice Coven, thank you for being here tonight, even if I am just now getting to say hi to you. Hopefully you'll be able to watch the live stream on replay. Ashley, thank you as always. Much, much appreciated. And Brooklyn, I am so glad to see you back here tonight. It's a joy always having you in the chat. And also, Matt, I want to thank you for being here tonight, and I hope you get your safe move done without any issues. So thank you for being here in the chat, and I look forward to seeing you in Alaska sometime soon. So with that being said, Clint, have a good night, and everybody else, and I will see you guys on the next one. Again, remember, I'll be here next Monday at 5:30, or I'm sorry, 5 o'clock. Don't be here at 5:30. You'll be late. 5 o'clock next Monday night, and I'll have a video out for you in just a couple of days. Thanks again, everyone. Stay safe and take care.